Hello, good evening. Welcome to another edition of CantinaMX Podcast Edition 133. Sean ustedes bienvenidos a otra edición de la CantinaMX Podcast. ¿Por qué en español? Pues por la única razón que se debe de transmitir en español. Porque ganaron las Chivas.
Leyenda del fútbol mexicano. En todo México siempre hay un Chiva hermano.
And we have a Chiva hermano joining us, not in Mexico, but in northern Mexico, otherwise known as Southern California. We're talking about Joel Aceves joins us at least temporarily before he has to step off and join us again. Joel, you predicted Chivas would make the final, but you were steadfast in your decisions not to go beyond that. But Chivas, at least my opinion, proved that finals are played to be won and not played to be pretty. And that's what Chivas did last night. They played to win it. Things kind of got bad for them, but with the score, but they were still, Chivas wasn't going to make any terrible mistakes of any kind. They didn't. And then they took it to penalty kicks, and there you go.
That they did, John. It was nerve-wracking at the end.
Yeah. Was your heart your throat there, Joel?
A bit. I've been there before, Libertadores.
Right.
And to lose a final, it could be pretty crushing. Well, for your team to lose it, I should say.
Well, I am well aware. I was I remember in Corpus Christi, watching the last time a Liga MX team was defeated in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And just watching the game and I'm watching Pumas just miss chance after chance after chance, and it's like, what is going on? And so it was. I mean, of course, that was a long time ago. Yeah, but I'm sure Toronto fans, thought that they had it, in the bag when they got the draw. But Chivas, by virtue of their blowout win over the team from the Dominican Republic, I think it was Cibao, and then all the goals they scored, that was the reason why they got to host the second leg in Guadalajara, and it ended up being huge for them, because I do think that the crowd had an adverse effect on Toronto yesterday, and Chivas then pulls. They get the penalties and they win the CONCACAF League, CONCACAF Cup, whatever you want to call it, for the first time in over 50 years. So congratulations to all Chivas fans everywhere. And it always cracks me up how quickly Chivas fans come out of the woodwork when titles are won. You don't hear from. I mean, you hear from some of them, but you don't hear from a lot of them until.
No, I knew this was going to happen, so it's something we talked about the club deciding between the league and the cup. And they had, Almeida had hinted at it already. And, they threw the last games. They played them with the reserves. And there was some fans getting upset, but after last night's win, a lot of that seemed to have been forgotten. Everyone's now looking forward to the FIFA Clubs World Cup, and I'm already seeing some of the memes about look out Real Madrid and stuff to that effect.
Well, I'm sure Real Madrid are quaking in their boots, knowing that that Dubai is getting ready to have a Chiva hermano invasion landing on them. So I'm sure that's on its way. Now,
well,
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that the Chiva team that does end up in, at the Clubs World Cup might not be the same one we're watching now.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of players, maybe even the coach, might not be around anymore.
I don't want to. Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but there's something really strange going on outside my window. I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to open the window if you don't mind and see if I'm not sure what's going on out there. Oh wait, here it is.
No.
Oh, you know what that was? That was Michael Bradley's ball finally coming to rest in my backyard. I mean, you have to feel for Toronto, as there's a lot of I wouldn't call it poetic justice, but it just seemed like it was so appropriate for, as Ron had pointed out over the past couple of weeks on the shows, since the U.S. isn't going to the World Cup, like this tournament was their World Cup, even if it was a Toronto team.
Mm-hmm.
It was still an MLS team, and I give full credit to Toronto for navigating the gauntlet that they had to navigate to get to where they were last night. I mean, and they were,
They
they
did
were
the heavy lifting for Chivas.
They did, and they were, if a guy just puts his boot on the ball firmly away from winning the game there at the end, and it didn't happen that way for Toronto. But I mean, they beat Tigres in the quarterfinals. They handily beat America in the semifinals. They went down to Guadalajara, but by the time halftime rolled around last night, they had already not only had they made up that difference, but they if they scored the next goal, that was going to put Chivas in a major situation, knowing that they would have to score two for that to happen, for them to win. And then Chivas, it seemed like both teams kind of settled into, we're not going to do anything crazy, but we are going to take our chances when we can. And both of them had some chances, but they ended up going to penalty. And I got to tell you, I like not having to play that extra half hour. I like it going straight to penalties. I like that a lot more. I'm not a big fan of extra time. To me, extra time is play extra time for a win. And that's why I'm probably like the only person on the planet that liked the golden goal rule, because I thought that was, if you played 90 minutes of soccer and you can't settle something, then I've never understood. Well, we need to have a chance to answer the goal that's scored in extra time. No, you don't. That's why it's called extra time. So to me, I like the immediate finality of having the penalty kicks right after the 90 minutes. I think it gave. And besides, I mean, how often do you ever think, "Oh man, that extra time was outstanding"? Extra time is usually just a slog. They're just terrible. I mean, nothing ever happens.
Yeah,
or very rarely.
are and then it's hard on the players. Some of them are already playing injured, or and then they're out of, unless you were allowed to make 2 extra cambios or something like that.
Well, I believe they did finally add 1 extra cambio for extra time, so they are allowed a 4th substitution for extra time. So that is good. So for Chivas, so Chivas apparently they haven't gotten. It's not that they haven't gotten paid; they haven't gotten paid their bonuses.
Wait, John. Brincando the charco a bit.
Wait, hang on. Is this a? Do we need to turn on the sirens?
No, there's no news.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna talk about my final thoughts on the game.
Oh, okay.
Just some of the stuff we mentioned about the pressure that was gonna be, because I said there's gonna be more pressure on Toronto, just because it's from not just MLS US but also Canada, and it's something we saw going into the penalty kicks. You could see that they were more nervous about that.
They were definitely more nervous.
And yeah, it's something we were talking about just earlier, how having the Copa MX helped Chivas, because they were in that situation of playing finals, of being in penalty kicks, and it helps if you're a player. That, all right, this is like my 3rd go around. Pulido, for example, he had that 1 miss in a Copa MX finals. This time he put it in, but he'd gone through that already.
Right, but it's not just, I mean, and just the Copa MX and that whole second round. There's all elimination games.
Yeah.
So Chivas had it wasn't just they had a more than a few penalty rounds, and it definitely, I mean, it helped guys like Pulido, some of those who had missed in those, understand that, I mean, you cannot mess around in the penalty kicks, and put the ball where, even if the goalie guesses right, he's not going to stop it. And every single one, except for the first one, Anis kind of got lucky, but the remaining shots were hitting the the part of the net that was, if not the side netting, the absolute corner of the net. And I mean, those they were perfect kicks.
Yeah.
They were perfect kicks for Chivas.
Yeah,
And in Toronto, not so much.
well then, yeah, that's my other point where this final reminded me of the Libertadores games where the Mexican team would get pretty far and they would dominate and still lose. They would have the better chances. They would, you know, they would do the heavy lifting and then end up losing. Uh, so I think the roles got inverted. Toronto was a Mexican team this time.
That's a very interesting
Chivas
point.
just going
I
through.
remember years ago, I remember one time I was traveling somewhere, and I got on, I settled in, and I turned on TV, and there was a Libertadores match, and it was Santos against River Plate, and it was in Torreon. Oh, this would be fantastic. And the game played out exactly as you described. Santos dominates, create a multitude of chances, can't cash any of them in, and then River Plate at the last, in the last 15 minutes of the game, scores the winner. Y se acabó.
Yeah, and we saw it in Libertadores with the Mexican teams. They would get really far, but they would be unable to win their home game, and
Right.
that would hurt them in the final. It would hurt them. So yeah, we saw it with Tigres recently, Cruz Azul, some of these other teams that got really far. So this time it feels good to be on the other side, John.
I will assume that it does. It's not the Coca Champions is not something that my Pumas they've been in the Conca Champions plenty. At least this latest incarnation. I'm being serious. This latest incarnation, they played it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they just can't make the final. They'll just doesn't happen.
My last point before we bring Chiquis into the mix.
Please.
He's been quite the supreme gentleman waiting on the side. It's Almeida. He's now put his name up there with the Chiva greats. He has 5 titles now, so he's the second most winning coach. Even though I would say he only has 1 league title, I would put league titles at the top of.
Yeah, I think it goes league titles, and then Conca Champions, and then Copa, and then whatever the Super. That to me is those are throwaways.
Yeah. So real quick for the Chiva hermanos out there, Javier de la Torre, who he passed away a few years back. He's the dad of Yayo de la Torre and uncle of the Chepo and Nestor. So Javier de la Torre has 12 titles with Chivas. He has about 5 league titles.
Again with De La Torre. Are you a De La Torre? Are you Joel Aceves De La Torre?
No, but I have to. We can't forget, I don't want to forget the people that helped forge Chivas into what it is, and we can't just dismiss it, because I know there's a lot of new fans, and a lot of them already singing high praises, but we've been a bit fortunate with these. This is like a mini Campeonisimo era. Not, you know what I mean, right, John? I mean, 2 Copa MX, a Super Copa. Some of these cups it's great to win them, and it's good to have them, but at the same time, they're pretty like small tournaments. You just play like 4 or 5 games, and the Super Copa just 1 game. So it sounds bad it sounds like I'm taking credit away, but we have to call it like it is, John.
Well, you do. You're right, Joel. But you can only win tournaments that you're entered in.
No, but see, that's my other thing, because I know Almeida is becoming right now. He must be, number 1 for national team, which is, I know that's what he's gunning for, and he's basically won everything there is to win with Chivas. Well, he just has the last cup to go, but that's one that could be forgiven. But
isn't it just like? Go ahead.
No, at the league, ha dejado. He's left much to be desired right there. Missed 2 liguillas already in a row. He's only won 1. The rest, he's all been eliminated in the first round, both against America. Clásico. So I mean, he's got a couple losses up there. He lost 2 Clásico Tapatíos in a row as well this season last. So I know people. John, you being one of them.
While everybody is falling in love with all the pretty parts, you are still fixated on the warts. You're like that guy that looks at me and says, he's got 6 toes. I don't know if I can do that. 6 toes.
Not to that extent, but I'm just saying let's not go overboard. He deserves a lot of credit, but let's not.
Now before we introduce Chiquis, do you want to hear it? Just one time before we introduce Chiquis, just once, just a little tale. You want to hear the whole thing?
All right, I'll listen to it.
All right, here we go. See, when they win, you got to play the whole thing. You can't just play a little. But joining actually a couple of Chiquis, Albert Campa joins us from. How beautiful was today here in Central Texas, Chiquis?
Very, very nice. Awesome weather. Good post-match weather, post-championship weather. It's just going to be even greater whenever Chivas beats Real Madrid in the Club World Cup. The weather should be awesome after that as well.
I think that goes without saying. Now, Chiquis, you're not a drinker. I'm not. This day we had here in Central Texas was this would be a good day to nurse the hangover. I think which is as beautiful as I actually got to play a little golf today, which I was very happy about. But I do want to ask our gentleman that joins us, Rigo Ayala, up in the New York metropolitan area. How did you deal with your hangover this morning, sir?
I actually did not drink.
Can I go? I'm impressed. Congratulations.
I'm a big proponent of not drinking during these kind of moments. I'm too nervous,
right?
And I can't do it. I didn't drink, and so I wasn't really hungover. I was just really tired from all the post game celebration and watching all the interviews and didn't go to sleep till like 1:30 in the morning.
Wow. So you were sucking the marrow out of the victory last night.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Did you venture
go there for a minute? So
did you venture into enemy territory and pay your respect, or did you go and lob some grenades?
No, I didn't do anything until this morning. I was just enjoying the sweet victory. This morning was when I made it into the MLS subreddit and then saw some tweets on the timeline, so I went to go comment.
Yeah. You sprayed the gasoline and lit fire on your way out,
and then I walked away.
I understand. Now I know that you guys just joined us, and I don't want to make you guys nervous or anything, but I do have the because it's so beautiful outside. My window is open, and if you can hear it, something landed. Let's see if I can find that again. Yeah, there it is. That's just now. Stephen Bradley's ball just landed outside my window here in beautiful Lakeway, Texas.
Such a bad penalty kick.
And Juan and I were talking about this earlier. When he walked up to the ball and picks it up and starts, patting down the manchon to make sure it's whatever it was. It was so obvious to me at least that he is he's not feeling this, and he's trying to take his mind off what he's doing, and it's not going to work. And sure enough, la voló, and that was that. And I just again, it's just such a for as good a player as he is, and I think he's a fine player. He's had an excellent career. Over the past couple of years, he has just been the player that has just been at the the bad end of some really really forgettable moments, not just for his club, but for national team as well. And to his credit, he's quemado, but he moves on. He moves past it.
Yeah, I thought he had a decent game.
Well, see, I didn't. I thought that he was just getting torched, at least defensively. Just
when Chivas used their speed, he was. when they weren't doing that though, like I felt like when they were trying to like get by like with
Well, I saw them get by him numerous times
oh yeah,
especially Pizarro and Trophies both. I mean, they were, and yeah, it just it was just for I mean, and again, not to to belittle anything that Toronto did, because I think any Chivas fan last night had to have been nervous as hell, especially in that second half, knowing that all Toronto needed was one goal to essentially because even if Chivas scored one, Chivas scoring one would win the tournament, but it would be completely nullified by another Toronto
goal.
Goal. Yeah, so just as a Chivas fan, I couldn't even imagine having to sit through that. And it was it was very exciting. I was very entertained as a neutral watching that.
It was very nerve wracking. I don't remember breathing the second half.
No,
like it was just me and my dad were just sitting in complete silence. My
Really?
brother was actually at the game, and then he would randomly send us videos or pictures or whatever. But we were just sitting there in complete silence.
I was the opposite, Rigo. I was the opposite of silent. I was like Tano Pasman, just cursing every bad pass.
I was cursing them too, but I just it just felt like nothing was coming out. Like in my mind, I was like, what the fuck? But like I
so you were like that character in Get Out. You like some Toronto drugged you
in the sunken place.
Yeah, and you were just sitting there paralyzed. You couldn't speak. You couldn't do anything. Now, Joel, when you curse at Chivas, do you curse in English or Spanish or both?
In Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your go? Well, I don't know if you can say it on the podcast. What is your go-to? Is it hijo de la?
I can't. It's in the moment thing, John. It's it's in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
It's at the heat of
So you just start flying. You. Just.
Oh yeah, because I felt the team was giving some balls away. Some pretty bad passes a few times.
Yeah, I mean they said, but so was Toronto too. They both were. It was.
I know, but Chivas is the home team, man. We're the Equipo Grande right here. We're at home. We're the main attraction right here.
To me, Chivas felt like the better side in the second half.
I thought so too. I mean, I honestly, I thought that Chofis was incredibly unlucky to not score on his one play. I mean, he did everything. Yeah, and then of course, Nestor. So it drives me crazy when I watch a game like that and they show like 5 replays of something, right? And the analysts can't look at another part of the screen other than where the ball is. They say, well, he should have passed it. And this and that. I mean, they said it should have passed it like 5 times, and every single replay shows that he had nowhere to pass because the defenders were doing an excellent job of covering the, marking their guys. So the only play Chofis had was to try and score, and it would have been the coolest, cheekiest FU goal in the history. And it all. I mean, he came within like 3 inches of pulling it off.
And even I forgot one of the other guys was like, well, everybody knows that when a player comes in on that angle, the goalie kind of plays the cross,
right,
instead of playing the near post, and that's what Chofis was trying to do is kind of like kick a near post, so that because he was expecting him to go for the cross, and it just didn't work out. But the Univision guys just always. I have no idea what they're paying him to do there sometimes, to be honest. Talk about nicknames, and they can't get the formations right. It's hard to watch sometimes.
You're right. I mean, there are times when they just kind of revert to using a lot of cliches and
same stuff over and over.
Stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's like I hear the analysts say "Qué golazo! Mira cómo la prende." It's like, dude, that doesn't tell me anything.
Like they've been talking about Cisneros and Cone Brizuela playing right back, and their inability to do it all season. And the guys have just, I mean, to me, they've gotten better every week playing the position. But they just, Neso del Torre just every week in, week out. You know, these guys are playing out of position.
So I have a question. The punch, because it was a straight up punch.
Yeah.
And then the referee goes to Jovinko and go, sorry. He kind of gave him that look and say, hey, I didn't see anything. You know, it was like yeah, it was a very strange and Jovinko wasn't quite the same after that. I don't know if y'all noticed that. I mean, that kind of took him out.
Pero también le perdonó una, didn't he?
Yeah,
he
did the same thing.
I know that,
Yeah.
and to me, and that's why I kind of appreciate what the ref did, because, you know, the ref was understanding that it was a final, and you know stuff is going to happen, and
Yes.
if he misses it on one side, he's gonna be consistent, and that's what he did.
Yeah, that's true. We have the refs that would ruin a final. By,
for a lot of
sometimes.
For a lot of crap that CONCACAF refs get for stuff, you know, 9 times out of 10, you know, they're actually not that terrible with the referee.
Do they make mistakes? That should have been a red card. That should have been a red card.
Well, in the letter of the law, you're absolutely right, Chiquis. But you know, finals aren't played. You know,
but the ref was behind.
Yeah. You know, the ref, he was actually right. He saw, he had his eyes on it. There was no question. But
yeah, he was right there.
You know, to me, the whole thing about Chiquis is that he has to be consistent. You know.
Yeah. So Jovinko punches Michael Perez in the stomach. Nothing happened. So I mean, he was consistent there.
Yeah, he was, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm 100% fine with the referee. You know, and then again, if he sees something and gives a red card, then if he sees the same thing on the side, he's got to give that same red card. You know, regardless of who it is. If it's Ronaldo, whatever it is, dude, I'm giving you a red card. So, no, I find it incredibly. Yes, go ahead.
Una pregunta for the panel. Missing from the big show was JCO. Was it coincidence or he just couldn't make it? He's sending a message to Pizarro.
Well, I thought he was down in.
Is he in Colombia?
In Bogota. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, man, this
spending time with the fan before he goes off.
Gran final right here, man. He'll go watch a Puebla game midweek. You know, he could see Chivas in you know, because this is a good moment to see some of the players in high pressure situation.
I don't know, man. That guy's a weird dude.
So, Joel, based on what you didn't see last night in the stadium, which was Juan Carlos Osorio, does that mean that that for the first time in who knows how long, Mexico is not going to have any?
Yeah.
Well, at least any current Chivas on the roster.
Yeah,
I think Alanis will be there. Or are you guys not counting him as current?
Oh, I would. You think so? You think Alanis will be on?
Yeah. It might take Getafe by the time the World Cup rolls around. That Alanis might be leaving.
Yeah, so I think
Chavos, al rato regreso.
All right, Joel is going to step off for that now. And a couple of interesting things happened on the World Cup side. So we had a Fox commercial that featured the Dos Santos boys. You know, and it makes you wonder, you know, is that another televisora that's, hey, maybe you can, you know, it'll be great for us if y'all put these guys on the team. And then we have Juan Carlos Osorio's absence from the CONCACAF champions. So, are we to deduce from that it could be that we're not going to see Rodolfo Pizarro in Russia, or that we are going to see Giovanni Dos Santos, who hasn't played in 6 weeks, by the way? And
I think that he doesn't find he just doesn't find a role for him.
See, and that to me is my biggest pet peeve with national team coaches that are system guys, because it's all this outstanding player. I have no, he doesn't work in my system, so I'm not going to bring him on. I mean, what is that? I mean, and for a team like Mexico that is so limited, depth wise.
I don't know if you guys listen to or watch La Última Palabra on Fox Deportes.
But once they get past the screaming, it's actually not a bad show.
They had Pizarro on last night, and they kind of asked him about that. And they asked him what's the issue with with your irregularity in the national team, and he basically said that he's being asked to do different roles in the national team, and there's a lot more constraint to what he's allowed to do. So I don't know if that's going to affect him.
That makes sense. He's just the type of player. His role in Chivas is totally free. I don't see a way he can fit in. You have to get rid of huge names to fit in Pizarro in the national team. And I don't think that's what Osorio is willing to do.
The biggest issue for
me, there is depth. There is depth in his plan to exclude Pizarro.
Well, but that's literally the only position where there actually is depth is the attacking midfielder,
the attacking side,
forward, but there was, I think it was the first half of the game in San maybe it was in San Diego against El Salvador. I think Dan was there. Hopefully Dan will hop on, where he did give that role to Pizarro, where he could be like the setup guy for the three forwards, and they were outstanding. He played really well, but then as you guys pointed out, they put him in another fixed position, and he just can't he can't blossom on the field the way that he's used to doing with Chivas. And again, to me, for a system coach, it's just if he plays everyone else out of position, to me it's like find a place on the pitch for this guy.
It's kind of like the whole Dybala thing on Argentina. I mean, I'm not comparing them, but he doesn't want to come because he can't play alongside Messi, and they can't find a role for him. I'm like, he's a great player. You find somewhere to put him on the field.
Right. No, I agree. It's just yeah. It's and I don't know, I'm kind of a little harsh on Pizarro and his exclusion or inclusion on the team for the past few weeks. But the reality is that when he plays well, he's great. It's his issue has always been, at least recently, has been that he just hasn't been, that guy consistently, for the better part of the last year. And it just makes it that if he had been that guy consistently over the past year, then I think that we would be having a completely different conversation. I think that that's where the frustration is. And he's still pretty young, right? What is he, 22, 23?
Yeah, he's like 23.
23. So he's on that cusp, he's on that age where, maybe had he, now, if I'm not mistaken, he went to the Olympics and he actually had he actually scored against Germany, if I'm not mistaken. And then their 2-2 draw. I believe he scored the first goal.
Yeah, he's 24. He just turned 24. And he did score in the Olympics.
Yeah, so he has...
He scored 3 goals for the national team already. In the Gold Cup.
Right.
Scored the winning goal against the quarterfinal victory against Honduras.
Yes, he did. He did indeed. So he does. If it were up to me right now, I would take him right now over Giovanni, only because we haven't seen Giovanni play in 6 weeks, and Giovanni and what he did show in the first couple of weeks was, nothing to write home about. So essentially, what Osorio is going to do is, these lists have to be in what, 2 or 3 weeks. The World Cup is less than 7 weeks away.
I thought the 30-man list was by the end of May, and then the 23-man is by the end of the first week of June or something like that.
That seems
very close to me.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem like by usually by mid-May, like within 30 days is when they have the 30-man, and then like because they got to give the players, the 2 weeks off that FIFA mandates before they can even start practicing with the national team.
I'm trying to look it up right now while we're podcasting.
Yeah. So I mean, I think he'll definitely be on the 30-man roster for sure. So, but and honestly, I think because of what you're just saying and knowing that there've been injuries in the past, it would not surprise me at all if he steps in for a Giovanni or even or a Jonathan who might come up.
June 4th is the official 23-man call up for World Cup final stage.
June 4th.
Seems kind of close, but
so that's 10 days away from the start of the tournament. But remember, Mexico is in Group F or whatever, so they have at least another 4 or 5 days before the tournament even starts for them. But so June 4th, and what about the 30-man roster, the 30-man pool?
The 30-man, May 14th.
Yeah, so we'll know in a couple weeks about the 30-man folk. Now I have to ask you, as a Chivas fan, knowing that Atlas had given their captain the big win, against Chivas over the week, and they give Rafa a nice little send off, and that the goodwill for Atlas fans lasts all of 3 days, and then Chivas totally steals their thunder by winning their first title in 50-something years. It just can Atlas ever catch a break?
They can't. I was actually just talking about this. I was on the Chivas del Norte podcast before I came on, and I was like, I don't hate Atlas. Like I didn't grow up in Guadalajara, and I never knew any Atlas fans, so like I don't really have like a disdain for them like people in Guadalajara do. So like they were over there celebrating like they had won the championship, but
right.
I don't really like it just it doesn't really bother me. I feel bad for like I feel like they've had so much talent come through their ranks, and they have not been able to like either hold on to them or put it all together. I mean, if you just look back, I mean, Borghetti, Osvaldo, Pardo, Rafa Marquez,
Daniel
Sorno, Miguel Cepeda, Chato Rodriguez, Guardado now.
Can't forget Elmer. What was his name?
Mario Mendez. I mean, he wasn't amazing, but he came through there. They've had a lot of talent come through.
They have. I mean, they were like Pumas. I mean, they were the
institution to bring out young talent.
Yeah, it was an academy. Pavel Pardo came out of Atlas.
Yeah, and they just either don't hold on to the players, or they remind me of the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah, well, I mean, Hugo Ayala came. I mean, for the longest time.
Torres Nilo,
for about 3 or 4 years, they'd make all these players, and then Tigres would buy them up. So Tigres' fuerzas básicas was Atlas.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just seems so funny to me that Atlas fans, they finally get like something to celebrate for, and it lasts all of 2 days.
Yeah, that was.
All right, and then my other question for you, before we continue, just real quickly, is did you go on the kayak.com today and check prices on flights to Dubai?
Yes, I did.
How much?
$650.
That is not bad.
That's not bad, right?
No, not at all.
No, I didn't think so either.
I mean, that's like, I mean, I would pay that to go to Cancun.
Yeah.
So that is very on Emirates, I would hope.
I don't remember the airline, to be honest.
I almost feel like if you're going to go to Dubai, you
gotta fly Emirates, and you gotta fly like first class.
Yeah, absolutely. That. I mean, why even bother? I couldn't even imagine what steerage looks like on an airline. I'm just playing, but this is incredible first class. Oh, by the way, here's the fuselage.
It's funny because
rest of the plane.
My brother's, he's not really his father-in-law, but his girlfriend's father is Uruguayan soccer agent, and he lives in Dubai. So my brother's like, we could just go stay with him. And I'm like, you don't even know the guy. But I was like, but if he lets us stay, then I'm down to go stay. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna stay in one of those fancy hotels.
Oh yeah, like the six, don't overdo it and stay at a 7-star hotel. Just stay at a 6-star hotel.
Yeah, one of the ones that's the palms, and that Palm Island. And you got to rent like a sports car and a cheetah or something like that.
Yeah, and then you got to go to the indoor ski mountain. You got to go ski while you're there. And yeah, exactly. You got to go to the man-made island. Don't they have like a man-made map of the world?
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And it's so like detailed that like the countries actually like resemble the actual countries. Like think like in Ireland they have or like Scotland they have like those rolling hills,
right?
Where like the grass, like they've brought all that stuff in to make it look exactly like the island, like the actual countries. And then like celebrities are buying homes on these little islands, so you can live in like Japan in Dubai.
Right. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. So so it's the shape of the country, but then in addition to that,
they actually make it out to look exactly.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's amazing what they're doing.
So then what you need to do while you're there is you need to go to Little Guadalajara.
Yeah.
And at least take some pictures. And then maybe you'll get lucky that they'll have like a
little mariachi.
Yeah. Well, I hope mariachis made a lot of money last night.
It'll be interesting to see what team ends up going for Chivas to this tournament.
Well, that's that's always been the problem for the Liga MX teams, in my opinion. When they go to usually by the time that they get to the FIFA Club World Cup, the team that had won the league title, at this point a year and a half or whatever it is before, sometimes almost like 2 years before, is a complete shell of who they were.
One, yeah.
I mean, Monterrey has gone there with just these teams that are like, oh my God, this is going to be nice. And Pachuca going there last year, just as they get rid of Chucky, and he goes to Eindhoven. So do we expect Pizarro to be on the squad next year?
That's what I've heard so far, is that he will be there.
Yeah.
And
but Cota will not.
Cota will probably not. Alanis will probably not. Salcido might be there, but I don't know. I don't know why you want Salcido there.
Boy, Salcido had a chance to paint himself in glory last night, just like he did
last year,
and also against Holland. Just wait. You know what? If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I don't know if that's Brad. It could also be Salcido's ball that's bouncing around out there, because that one
was bad too.
Sky high. And he did the same thing against Holland in Brazil. Just he had a chance to just put the game away, and just send it sky high. So, and then of course that trophies will be there, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to keep trophies Brizuela and a lot of the little wingers that they have. I think that they're probably gonna have to part ways
with
some of
them
guys. Yeah.
I don't think trophies. I think Almeida loves trophies.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, he could have been the hero. He could have been the hero last night.
Oh man, I probably would have cried right there. I probably would have broken down and cried.
It was a great. That's why I love Eduardo, is because he tries stuff.
Yeah,
he's
not afraid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he has the confidence to and if it works, then he looks like just a thing. And if it doesn't, hey, at least he tried. I mean, to me, that's so much better to me than to send just some ridiculous lifeless cross that's going to go to nothing.
That was my problem with Cisneros, who would a few times he was playing on the wing and he would make that cut inside, and he would have space to take a shot, but he
Right.
wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take it.
No, he wouldn't.
He would just continue to dribble like towards the center of the field,
And he
I'm
has a
like,
good shot.
yeah. And I was like, what's going? Like, I feel like since he came back from the injury, he hasn't been the same.
Is he a righty or a lefty?
I think he's a righty.
So he had the.
No, he didn't have it wasn't on his
Oh, it wasn't on
dominance
on the Enganche side.
Yeah,
no, that's too bad.
but
Yeah, well,
sometimes
that's-
sometimes when you're moving, in that direction, the momentum powers your shot. But no, Chuffy's like when he came on, you see the difference between him and Cisneros.
Oh yeah, no, Trophies is an exceptional talent, and I hope that
He continues to develop.
Yeah, because he needs to start. I mean, he's at that age
being
too.
more consistent.
Like, yeah, exactly, and that's I think that's been Chivas' problem all season is that they obviously have the talent. I mean, I think, and I don't watch Chivas games all the time like y'all do, but I mean that has to be so frustrating because when I do watch, I'm like, man, these guys are so much better than this, and it just all of them. We're all trying so desperately to make something happen that they all just start pressing at the same time, and it's like, guys, and it just like someone needs to step up and just calm that, and they just don't have. Salcido is. I don't know how they once asked him, "You want to be CantinaMX?" No, I don't want any of that. He doesn't want to be that guy. It should be Pulido, but he doesn't want to be that guy. He's looking for somebody to be. Someone just please step up, lead that team, and once they find that guy, I mean, they are going to be just a completely different team. But they don't have that guy. Mexico doesn't have that guy either.
No, I do like this kid. This kid Godinez.
He's got some moxie.
He reminds me of a lot of Cheech. He, when he's dribbling forward, he looks like a tronco. But
right. But then he rips the shot off.
Yeah, then he rips the shot off, or when he like gets the ball with his back to the goal, like very good ball control, like very long legs. Like he has the ability, like he's able to strip players of the ball that are close by, and he's hustling the whole game. He's trying, and I think that works in his favor. I mean, he consolidated himself as a starter this season, ahead of like Ronaldo, who they brought in,
and ahead of Salivar, who was injured but played yesterday, and played. Did they both score on the penalty kicks too?
Yeah, they did. Salivar hasn't actually missed a penalty kick with Chivas.
Wow.
I thought they were gonna say that and they were gonna jinx him.
No, they both played well yesterday, and they did say that on the air, and I'm sure that you probably threw something at the television when they said it.
I was like, please don't say that.
Yeah, it's and to me, it's so if Chivas, I mean, is there anybody that has those characteristics that that can lead, or is there a a personnel change, someone that they can bring in, that has that, that personality trait, and they just don't have, and I think that's a problem for Mexico, and that's sadly why I think that Rafa is going to probably end up going to the World Cup, because
there is nobody with that character.
Yeah, they just don't have that lead. They just don't have that leader. They have a lot of Indians, but they don't have the chief.
To me, that's why I feel like Jair Pereira should go to the national team, because he's that kind of player that kind of like exudes that, at least for Chivas on defense.
Right.
And the Mexican national team doesn't have that. Hector Moreno is not that. Reyes isn't that. Hugo Ayala isn't that. Araujo isn't that. Like, Araujo is probably the best defender on the team, and he's injured now. And I mean, I'm sure he's going to come back, because I've seen some videos of him training already. Him and Salcedo. But none of them have that, like, they don't give you like that warrior feel to them. And I feel like Jair could do that, but he's not going to get called up because he's not a fan favorite of Mr. Osorio.
Yeah, well, I mean, for Jai to get called up, a lot of players would have to.
There'd be a lot of injuries. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's nothing against, but you're right though. I mean, but that is a type of player that Mexico. I mean, and a reason why Rafa Marquez is still very much on the board to go to Russia is because he's the only. And that's as sad as that sounds. That even at 39, Rafa Marquez is still irreplaceable on the national team at 39.
that's really sad because if you think about it, most national teams are debuting guys that are 18, 19, 20 in the World Cup,
Right.
and Mexico can't. Mexico doesn't have the luck. They can't do that. We don't want to, or we don't have the luxury of doing it because we have guys that just don't step up. Which is why I think this people talk about this being the golden generation, but I've always thought that the '90s guys was the golden generation for Mexico because you had so many guys that played like that. Like you had the Garcia Aspes, Claudio Suarez, Nacho Ambriz. You had all these guys that you knew that they were like going to give everything they had when they were on the field.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
regardless of
the golden generation is the mid eight, like the ones that missed the '90 World Cup. To me, and that's why it's just such a.
I'm sure for you that's like. I mean, I was like 5 years old, but I'm sure for you that's got to be like.
It was
extremely frustrating.
It was devastating.
Yeah,
because I remember, that was back in the day where you couldn't find any soccer news anywhere. I mean, you really had to go. You really had to dig. And I was living in Waco, Texas at the time, and my parents were nice enough to subscribe to Dallas Morning News, which is actually an excellent newspaper. And they had a weekly soccer column. So Steve Davis, who I'm sure listens to the show, but he is one of the announcers up in for FC Dallas, and I think he writes for 442 now. But he had the weekly column, and I once called him to get the World Cup groups in 1990, but that's a different story. So they did a real good job of carrying the '86 World Cup. So that was a good place to go to get your soccer news. And I remember on the front page of their sports section when it happened, and I was totally clueless. It says FIFA suspends, bans Mexico from upcoming World Cup, and that was on the front page of the soccer news. I was thinking, you got to be kidding me. And then I read the reason why, and I was like, oh my God, are you serious for something as stupid as that? That's the reason why they're being
punished.
Punished. I mean, and again, it's not the punishment that I was mad at. It was the idiot decisions that people made to do this. For just a meaningless U19. Is like, really, for God's sakes. Yeah, and it was. I mean, that was when Hugo was winning Pichichi after Pichichi, and Negrete. Negrete is the third. He is the maximum goal scorer for Pumas as a national on that team. And actually it goes Cavino and Tuca and then Negrete. So he was, playing lights out. Chepo was outstanding. They had Sage, Capitan Furia was still kicking out. I mean, they had so many great players. There were Abuelo Cruz was killing it. So many great players that were at their peak of their career. Luis Garcia, like you're talking about the young kid that's coming on. Luis Garcia was the young kid that was coming on. Garcia Aspe was the young kid that was coming on at that time. I mean, they were absolutely stacked. And yeah, so that to me will and always be the golden generation. And then, unfortunately they got the tail end of some of those guys. That's
super disappointing.
And then that World Cup was so terrible. I mean, Costa Rica qualified for the second round. And, it was just there was no quality in that tournament other than Germany, who showed from the very first game they played all the way to the end that they were clearly the best team. Yeah, it sucked. It absolutely sucked. But this generation,
there just isn't that leadership.
Yeah, they just there is, but just those guys never, like Patricio Araujo never panned out. He was one of those guys. That could have, and then of course Chaton is the guy that I mean, this should be Chaton's team.
Yeah,
I mean, in all seriousness, I mean this would be his. He would be the captain. Had his career projected trajectory gone the way that everyone thought it would. He would be not only be the captain of Chivas, he'd be the captain of the national team. Period. I mean, that would just be what it is. and it just
I feel like
unfortunately it didn't work out.
Gallito's kind of like a guy like that.
Yeah, but he's also 5'2", and
Yeah, he's never gonna get
Osorio
called up. Yeah,
is it's just not going to happen for Gallito, which is unfortunate. Unfortunate. Now,
have
were
you
you
been?
okay
Have you been?
yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say, have you been hearing about? I mean, the Almeida to the national team is like ramping up. It's like all the televisoras are getting behind it now. It's either they're all saying it's either him or Piojo. Uh, do you think it's definitely going to happen? Like, is he the logical choice?
I do, and I think it would. I mean, I think Piojo once again has let his mouth get in the way of his own success, and I think the way he ran his mouth, and because this should have been a super clásico, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Nothing again. I'm not taking anything away from Toronto, but Piojo unfortunately was started the whole ball rolling on America with the comments that he made, and then not owning up to it, and his team is not playing that well right now, and I think Piojo, and unfortunately, is
playing himself out of.
Yeah, he is. And the question I have to ask is, I mean, would folks really consider Piojo again after what happened? Would they really consider Piojo after what happened? And I don't know. And the way that he's been acting right now, I think that's that becomes more of an issue than anything. And again, Almeida has won. He wins in tournament play. He's won. He's a tournament guy.
And he says the right things. And he doesn't. He takes everything serious.
He thanked the field crew last night. Who else thanks the field crew?
Did you see him drunk though?
Who, Almeida or the field crew?
Yeah, Almeida.
No.
Like plastered on one of Chopi's videos. But I mean plastered. I'm gonna send it to the chat.
Was he a happy drunk or a sad or
he was a happy drunk? They were all like singing, and
that's fantastic.
And, there it is. All right,
that is absolutely fantastic.
He just comes out like it's a Chofi's video, and he just comes out of nowhere. It just starts singing and with a beer in his hand, like, oh man. I was like, Dad, is that you? I just sent it. If you wanna watch it, I'll put it in the group chat.
I'll take a look at it here in a second. I mean, and because of that, I think that and especially with if the World Cup happens the way that we're all kind of thinking is going to happen, then yeah, I think that Almeida is definitely the leader in the clubhouse to take over. And I think, he is another one of those guys that wants, he's a younger guy, he thinks that his future is elsewhere, but I think that he's smart enough to know that if he can make it work and, with these crazy ball of, crazy that he has to deal with, then that will say a lot for him. Moving up the chain, so to speak. And that's no small feat. I mean, coaching. I think that any coach would coach Mexico if they didn't have to deal
with the media,
and the whole FMF thing. So if he can navigate both of those, then yeah, he will go places for sure.
It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple months.
And Chivas players will actually be on
taking a vacation. Oh, you saw the video?
Well, I'm saying is that there'll actually be some Chivas players on the national team.
Yeah.
Then more than there are right now.
I mean, Cheech. I mean, I think the possibility of Cheech playing a Club World Cup might be what lures him back.
Wow, I haven't even thought about that. You're absolutely right.
I know Salcedo has said that he would be interested in playing a Club World Cup.
That's that's very interesting.
You bring them on loan, right? Because then
I think Chicharo's ready to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's ready to come back too. But he might want to come back on loan because he still wants to make the MLS jump. I feel before he comes back to Chivas, but play one tournament with the team, and I mean, maybe he stays after that. But just the ability to go to the Club World Cup and Cheech doesn't need exposure, but it could help him, make another jump.
He did send good juju down Chivas' way this week.
Oh yeah, I mean he's as Chivista as it gets.
Yeah, well, it's literally in his blood.
Yeah,
there's not many people that can actually say that. But yeah. Cheech was even though his dad played at other, for other clubs, Tecos and Morelia, but
I did a thing on Cheech for Copa 90.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming out in the next couple weeks. We were down there, and when we were there in Guadalajara, we met with we were trying to meet with his grandfather, but we couldn't make it happen. We're just going around the town, part of town he lives in, or just listening to people talk about him, the way they talk about him, and his fandom, like his love for the team.
Yeah, like when you got home, you tell your girlfriend, "Hey, how come you don't talk to me the way that these people were talking about Chicharito?"
I'm like, Daddy, you don't talk about me like this.
That's that should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I got this feeling that he's gonna have a good World Cup, Chicharito. I think that he understands that this is his. If he does play another one, it's going to be as a maybe a substitute, whatever it was. But I mean, but this is it for him. I think this is his last big chance, and I think he's going to cash it in. I think that he's going to
scores again, makes it his third World Cup or fourth World Cup where he scores. Third, right?
Yeah, I mean, imagine. I mean, he's what 30 years old now, or 29, and he's playing in his third World Cup. Giovanni's playing in his third World Cup, and he's 28. That's if Giovanni, of course, makes the squad. They're still. I mean, this really should be, which I guess is what's so frustrating for a lot of us is, this if this is the quote unquote golden generation that many people think that it is, then this should be the World Cup where they threaten to make a semifinal with the quote unquote talented players that they have. Unfortunately, there's a.
I feel like we had a different coach. I could see it, but
yeah. But like I've mentioned on the show, I mean, could it be that he's just preparing his players that for, hey, you're going to play in your regular position, but for the one crazy reason, we need to play this position. You will have already played it, so that's why we're playing it here for these next two games. I'm just, the eternal optimist is one that will never die in me, and I think that's what's going to happen. Now, I did notice that we have been joined by our other eternal optimist has joined us from Escondido, California. Daniel Preciado joins us. Daniel, you had no doubt last night that Chivas was going to win, correct?
Before the game, no, I had no doubt. During the game,
it was touch and go for you too, Dan.
Crept. Honestly, man, that once they tied it on aggregate, once it was I guess 3-3,
right?
It felt like they were losing. At least that's the impression I got. Like it felt they were actually literally losing on aggregate, even though they were tied. So I was thinking penalty kicks. I was just surprised that Toronto didn't go for it more. I thought they might have had some more chances had they gone for it a little bit more, but I think they were content with taking their chances, like maybe on the counters, and then just playing their luck, rolling the dice and penalty kicks. But you know what? They held on. I thought, generally speaking, it was a poorly played game by both teams. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but even when Chivas went up, I thought it was somewhat deceptive, just because I thought I saw Pizarro like he was trying to calmed the guys down, but they weren't exactly listening to him. They weren't playing smart.
He actually said that after they scored the goal, they kind of let their foot off the gas, and they kind of relaxed a little bit too much. And
thinking that it was over.
Yeah.
How's that possible? That's crazy that they would actually think that.
And then that's where the mistakes came. Because, I mean, that first goal was all mistakes. The second goal, I mean, that's Javinko being Javinko.
Right.
But the first goal was, I think Alanis gets in the way of Cota when Cota's about to, grab the ball. He clears it. They don't clear the ball enough.
How do you feel about losing him?
Who, Alanis?
No, Cota. Because I hear he's going to be going back.
Yeah, I hear he doesn't want to go back. But I don't know if Chivas is willing to pay what.
I don't think you guys should keep him, man. I thought he had a bad game.
Yeah, he was a little rough.
He got lucky that Altidore didn't make him pay on that one
where he came out.
Game. Yeah,
yeah,
that was just such a terrible
move.
That
was bad. Yeah,
and luckily the guys. Hold on a sec.
I was going to ask Dan if he, as someone who enjoys giving the Chivas fans a little ribbon, if he was kind of like in the back of my mind hoping that Chivas wouldn't pull it out, but maybe he'll join us here.
It sounded like he was in traffic.
Yeah, it sounded like he was like running between cars.
Yeah, I mean that probably
like being chased by Martin Riggs.
Don't Mexicans in California cross the highway like that? They just run across.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay. All right.
Did you make it across the highway?
Did I make it across the highway?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm playing chicken. Playing
Frogger.
Like Frogger, exactly. Yeah. Like that Seinfeld episode.
So Dan, the question I was going to ask you is, as someone who enjoys, how would I put this diplomatically? Someone who enjoys kind of ribbing on Chivas fans a little.
Okay.
Were you kind of hoping? Were you kind of hoping that you're like, well, if they lost this is actually kind of hilarious, or?
I wasn't hoping, but there's always the on the bright side, like on the positive side, I get to laugh at Chivistas, but because they get to be the team that that broke the streak.
Right.
I guess so.
I was right.
It was going to be I'd be laughing at anybody who
makes that go dark.
Really? You're ready to quit soccer?
It was just going to go dark for a week or two.
You're going to go off the grid?
Yeah. Like not talk to anybody.
Live life like you did back in 2006.
Now,
yeah.
Hindsight, looking back on it, is this the way? Are you happy with the way it went down in penalty kicks, or would you have rather to?
I would have rather we win in regular time with like a 3-1 victory or something like that. Something that's comfortable.
Anybody would rather do it. I mean,
yeah.
To me, it's almost like it's almost better when your team wins like this. Because I mean, it's not as if you're playing, some schmoes. I mean, you're playing, in theory, another really good team. So it's going to be, tooth. I mean, to me, I've always said that like when Mexico plays the U.S., if Mexico wins, I want them to win on just the ugliest, worst possible, hideous, if Chicha scores, if he scores like accidentally with his ass, something like that, and it goes in, I'd love that. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have the other ones too, but it's I just in games like this, finals. Finals are there to be won. If you want, the pretty stuff can happen. Let the pretty stuff happen in the first round. You gotta win that game.
And you know what? They those penalty kicks were perfect.
They were.
By the Chivas,
yeah.
I mean, by the Chivas, they every one of them was taken confidently. They picked their spot. Just excellent execution on the penalty kicks.
When you saw,
I didn't see that coming.
when you saw Bradley walk up and then act the way he did, Dan, before he even took the kick, did you say to yourself, I don't know
I
if this
missed
is going in?
Who?
Bradley at the end.
Oh, Bradley at the end. I was hoping. I honestly thought he'd make it just because he's.
I thought he was going to make it too.
Yeah.
Really?
Out of anybody, I thought he was going to make it.
I just looked at the look on his face and the way he was acting. I was like, man, there's no way this is going in. I don't know why I thought that. I just,
Oh man!
Of course,
and like,
it's a 50-50 chance.
The way he skied it was.
Ooh.
He wasn't even close, man.
Messy like.
Yeah, well, it's actually just landing right now, Dan, right outside the window. There. So. No, it was.
Congratulations to our resident Chivistas here.
Thank you.
So Michael Bradley in the past 4 years was horribly dispossessed against Portugal when they were 2-1 up, about to go 6 points and possibly win the group and give themselves a much favorable draw in the next round. And he gets dispossessed in the Ronaldo centers, and it's 2-2. So that happens. He he misses a penalty in the 2016 MLS Cup that cost Toronto. And then now he misses this one. He was on the field against Trinidad Tobago, did nothing against Trinidad Tobago. It's been a rough 4 years for Michael Bradley. I mean, he has been the emblematic player behind a lot of these just huge defeats that his teams have suffered. I mean, obviously he will continue to play well, but I mean that's a lot. So
poor guy. I don't feel bad.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for him either. I have a friend of mine who's real close with some of the Texas Rangers up in Arlington, and they were in the World Series a couple years ago. They played two in a row. They got swept in one, and then the next one they went 7 games and ended up losing. And I asked him, I said, did you see him after that? I said, yeah. I said like the first night they were like, devastated the whole bit, this and that. But he said after that they were, they were done with it, and then they move on, and that's that. So I wonder.
I'm sorry to change the subject.
Go ahead.
But something that's just popped up in my head has been the whole, Chivas is in last place in the league, and Toronto's the greatest team in MLS history, but Toronto's in last place in the league as well, and it's because they've been focusing on the cup.
But haven't they actually played less matches too?
I mean, they played like 5 games or something like that. But MLS gave them games off as well.
I mean, they lost 5-0 over the weekend to Houston. In Houston, Toronto, but they were also playing with somewhat of an alternate team. But
I think that goes to show that like when we're talking about favorites and I thought Toronto was being considered too big of favorites. I mean, if they were that favorites, then they wouldn't need all those advantages that MLS was trying to help them out with, pushing games. Just doing that kind of thing. If they were that favored, you'd figure that they wouldn't need the extra help.
To be honest, they shouldn't have made it past Tigres. But Tigres in that first game, they undervalued them and they put on alternate squad, and then they lost.
Yeah, Toronto scored 4 goals against Tigres. And the first one was a goal. The second one was a C&I back heel that went into the net. The third one was on a free kick, or the third one was the autogol, right? So they got an autogol. And then the fourth one was on that free kick that the goalie, for whatever reason, decided not to put his hands up and not stop. So they did get very, very lucky. And luck is a part of it. I mean, I totally get that. Yeah. They did get very lucky against Tigres in that series. And now compare that to how they played against America, and they took care of America without any problem at all. up in Toronto.
But America again also didn't take that series seriously.
Well,
America's been on the trending down, but they haven't been. They didn't take the series seriously as well, and I feel like
How do you quantify that statement though? Like, how do you know they weren't taking it seriously?
You're playing with alternate squads.
No, America was playing. They were playing with full. They were playing with full starters, and so was Tigres.
I think their issue was that maybe injuries too.
I mean, if I remember right, I mean it was not an alternate squad by any means, by either team.
I'm gonna try and bring it up, but
what they didn't do is they didn't. I mean, they didn't scout Toronto. They didn't spend any extra time more at all to prepare for them, other than just a cursory look. Toronto had both those teams scouted very well. They knew exactly how they were going to play. They knew exactly what each player was going to do. I mean, they took the time to prepare for the games, and to their own admission, both Duca and Bjorkers are like, they didn't do it.
Which I think Almeida did do, but I mean, I think we weren't. They had pretty much given up on the league, which I think is a mistake. I feel like you don't do that, but they did it.
I'm actually okay with that because, I mean, there's going to be another league in 3 months, so
yeah.
Again, for folks to get upset about that, it's like, relax. They'll be in the next one. But when are they going to be in the Conca Champions final again? I mean, that's why even in the last year of Libertadores that the Mexican team played, Pumas was actually in it, and God love them, they played those. I mean, they made it to the quarterfinals and lost in penalty kicks, but in the games that they played, I mean, they sent their full team down, and they took it extremely seriously, and good, because last time they played it, they didn't take it seriously, and they lost all 6 games in the group stage. And this time they took it seriously. So again, Chivas is not going to be in the Conca Champions next year because they're not going to make, they didn't make the finals last season. They're obviously not making it this season. So for Chivas fans that get mad that they didn't play the league, you know what? They weren't going to win the league anyway. They weren't going to make it's a great opportunity to bring in some youngsters, because then you get to see if youngsters actually have what it takes, and then you see also that some youngsters, maybe they don't have what it takes.
Aren't ready yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was very evident with a couple of players. So
I do think there's 2 aspects to this Conca Champions that's different from other Conca Champions, and I'm not just saying it because she was one. I'm saying it because the schedule was adjusted so that MLS teams were playing while they were in season versus other years where they were playing before the season even started. So they were in preseason playing the Mexican teams that were already, midway through their season, and
right.
Mexican teams were just steamrolling them. I think this helped the MLS teams not get steamrolled. So it made the cup more competitive. MLS was definitely trying to win it, and that made the cup more competitive. And then just the fact that the team that won it was, actually taking it serious, I feel that brings some seriousness to this cup moving forward. Because I feel like, Pachuca has won it in the past, but it's always been like, it's just like a money grab.
Right.
Cup. And this time around, it felt like, this is, I mean, it could just be like, the rhetoric that's been the media and the team has been throwing out there, but like, it was important. Could that have been because the season was lost? Maybe, but it feels like this Conca Champions had a different feel to it than other years.
I mean, but it should be important for, at the very least, to go to play that Club World. I mean, to go play the Club World Cup. If you end up being drawn in with the European champion, I mean, that's just, bad luck. and it happened. I'm not saying that they can't win, but yeah, really
Beto and I would talk about
depends
this.
on the European team. But I mean, at least you're going to go. I mean, I remember Monterrey played Chelsea, and you knew Chelsea was going to win, but Monterrey gave them a game. I remember that was when we first found out about Tecatito, and it was like, wow, this they lost 5-2 or whatever it was, but I mean, it was a competitive 5-2. Well, I'd much rather see that.
Who did Necaxa play? Didn't Necaxa beat
They
somebody
Real Madrid.
back in the day when they had Alex Aguinaga?
I believe that they came in third
Or
place. I
Manchester?
know that. I can't remember. It was one of the two. I would have to look it up, and that would involve me getting up.
I'm looking it up right now. They
Yeah.
came in third place versus Real Madrid.
They came in third. And
I don't know. I think winning this competition is a big deal. I mean, international competition. I mean, it's the only one that's really there now, at least for the time being. I think it's growing in prestige slowly. And obviously, the ticket to the World Cup is obviously the big prize. But I don't know. It definitely salvages the season for Chivas, because obviously the in their league campaigns it's been poor. But overall, I mean, you have to be pretty happy with what Almeida's been able to bring. Like, I would take 2 crappy seasons for an international title. Why not?
No, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I'll take a championship we won last year and 2 crappy seasons afterwards.
And they're just, and really, I mean, and the fact that they won this championship goes to show that, I mean, that the team's still not that far off from the team that won the league. And I think in most games you saw glimpses of it going forward.
Team. Yeah.
Lacking finishing product, and then obviously in the back lines, probably I think where there needs the most fixing. But I still think the team's looking well for the future. It looks like they got some decent looking young kids that are starting to get minutes. So I think there's reason for optimism. Just adding maybe a couple pieces, I think will get them back into the Liga easy.
I think the biggest concern is what happens after Almeida leaves. Because I feel like as long as Almeida's there, you kind of see like.
Well, isn't Güero Real just gonna step in the interim like he always does?
or Bracamontes? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen then.
Well, so we always talk about there's always a big change for the Mexico team that goes to the Club World Cup. So the big change that we're talking here could be, well, in all likelihood, might be Almeida, or maybe
Pizarro,
or maybe the deal is that he becomes the Mexico national team coach, but they really don't need him until 2019. So he stays with Chivas through the season, and then after the Club World Cup, he goes and coaches Mexico. I could totally see that happening. And then Mexico could do the homenaje thing where they play their ridiculous friendlies, and they'll send.
You ready to give him 4 years?
Almeida?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I like the way that he handles his teams in tournaments, and frankly, Mexico plays a lot of tournaments, and I think that he's a player's coach, and I think he's an offensive coach, and I think that that the way that Chivas plays, I think would fit the national team like a glove. And he's the kind of guy that looks like he puts players in positions to succeed, as opposed to players where he thinks might play better.
I mean, and to me, tactically, he's improved since he first came on as coach for Chivas. I remember the first Liguilla they played America, and they lost, and La Volpe just completely outcoached them.
Right.
And I feel like since then he's just been improving. I mean, in this series, in the first game, he plays with man marking Javinko, which none of the other teams had done. He didn't completely stop him, but he definitely slowed him down. In the second game, he plays with 2 center defensive mids instead of 1. And again, I mean, Javinko did get his goal, and in the end, he had that one play where he crossed it into the box, and that kid could have easily won the game.
Right.
But he was limited because you put a guy that's man marking him, and then another guy right there in the middle of the field to control, and those were tactical moves that he was doing. Where I think.
And when was the last time you saw a straight up man mark like that? I mean, I remember
you don't see it.
Yeah, to me the most famous one. You guys, I don't think we're alive when it happened, but in 1982, this Italian defender by the name of Claudio Gentile. I don't know if you guys ever heard the name. Man marked, and it was in the second round. They had to play Argentina and Brazil, and those were their second round games. So he man marked Maradona and nullified him, and then he man marked Zico. And Zico had to go up to the ref, and it's real famous shots where he shows the ref, look at the huge tear in my shirt that this guy gave me to not let me go. I mean, he was man marking him very closely, obviously, and and ended up working for them. And it was like when I saw that he was a man, I was like, wow, I can't remember the last time I've seen a straight up man marking in any game.
I mean, in the second leg against Tigres, he man marked Gignac with Pereira,
right?
And that worked because Gignac didn't do anything in that second leg. So I mean, I think tactically, he's growing, and I think that's a good sign for the Mexican national team, because I feel like especially here in CONCACAF, you face a lot of that, like, very stringent, just sit back, park the bus type of teams, and you need to be able to adjust your tactics.
Dan, are you ready for Almeida to jump into the fray?
Yeah, you know what? Just like I'm, they're never going to get like any huge name, and at least he's proven to be a winner in different capacities. He's won everything already. I mean, that's pretty impressive actually when you think about it. He's won all the competitions that are to win. And he's done it with all Mexican players already.
Right. So he'll be used to that.
So he'll be used to that.
And to the controversy.
And in theory, he'll have better players available to him. So yeah, no, I'm all about planning and just sticking to the plan and just if that's what you want to go with, then all right, let's just give him the time and then just stay out of his way and just do everything you can to support him. So I'd be okay with it. To be honest with you, the way he's managed to win with arguably not the greatest of teams, because while he won the league, no one really thought that they were the better team against Tigres. And I personally think they had the better squad against Toronto, but a lot of people probably would disagree. So maybe he's. I hate to say he's able to do more with less. I mean, because I'm not trying to knock the Chivas players, but the fact that he's able to win, I think above all else is impressive, and I wouldn't mind seeing him, not at all. Definitely better than Tuca.
So Rigo, before we move on, do you want to hear just one last time before we move on?
Sure.
All right. Never gets old. Never gets old.
I keep picturing Almeida holding a goat, smiling.
Did you see the video of him drunk?
No.
Yeah, apparently, Rigo has posted that for it. I hope that didn't go like completely viral in Mexico.
I don't think so.
Let's hope.
I mean, they haven't talked about it.
Well, if there's a night that you should be allowed to get drunk.
It's that night.
Yeah.
So they were on the bus, right, going to the Minerva. Yeah, he is having a good time. Good for him. It looks like he's a college freshman on his first trip to New Orleans. so good for Matias. All right, let's move on. I got a couple other things we want to talk about here tonight. We've I was hoping we had a little Chiva Hermano talk, but Profe didn't join us, which is somewhat surprising. He usually comes out of the woodwork after a Chivas win. That's the one thing that I have to admit. It's not as bad as when America wins. When America wins, people you haven't seen or heard from in like 10 years all of a sudden come up pintado amarillo, like oh, I've been an America fan this whole time, which they probably have been, but we're too embarrassed to admit it. But at least it's not that bad with Chivas winning. Although the regulars are obnoxious enough as it is, they don't need the fair weather fans as much as America does. So it was very very entertaining last night. All the stuff I saw from Chivas fans.
All right, guys, I'm going to drop off, but it was a pleasure as always.
Hey, thank you so much, and but before you go, Rigo, once again, so it's 6:50 from New York to Dubai. Round trip.
Yeah.
So at 6:50, you might as well bump that up. If you're gonna do it right.
Go to first class.
Yeah.
On Emirates.
Exactly.
And then stay in one of those little islands. All right, guys.
Well, Rigo. Well, congratulations, Rigo, and
thank you.
We'll talk to you next week.
All right, later, guys. Bye. Good night.
Good night, Rigo Ayala, joining us from upstate New York. He was very tired after celebrating his Chivas winning the Coca Champions last night. Has decided to sign off here on the CantinaMX podcast. Good spot for us, Dan, to move on to other topics. A couple of things happened this week. The first is Juan Carlos Osorio and his non-presence last night at the stadium. Had another one of these interviews with a Colombian media member and said some things, which was promptly forgotten. By the way, I've noticed that it's usually when that happens, it's like a week or 2 week thing. So he's got 2 weeks, Dan, to name his team, his 30-man roster. So out of these 30 players, are we going to see any surprises, or is it going to be the someone he has called up before?
No surprises at this point. Maybe some of those fringe players are going to make it, but someone completely that hasn't been included yet. No, I don't think we'll see that.
So we won't see a Lainez, for an example, or we won't see well, actually, isn't really that many more Mexican players.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's. I think the one, the big question mark is going to be Pizarro. Because people seem to be pitting him against Gio for some reason. I don't know. I think there's still even possibly room for both of them. But I don't know exactly where. I think that's where where he's going to want to have depth in certain areas. That's where I think the question marks lie. I'm thinking he might go heavy on the defensive end just because you see Nestor coming back from injury, so who knows how he's going to be. And just the way last summer worked out, the way when the players correct me if I'm wrong, John, we had a couple players go down for cards and injury, I think, and left the team kind of scrambling, like forcing players to play in positions that nobody wants to see them play.
Exactly. Well, yeah, there were some injuries. I remember Salcedo got injured, and then another. I think it was Reyes who got injured. So again, two defenders were injured. So yeah,
and then Guardado, I think, also missed that critical match. So, anyways,
yes, he did because he had a card accumulation.
So yeah, that I think we might see more players on that end. As opposed to, are there particular names that you're thinking that you might see?
Not really, and I'm looking at the Confed Cup roster. So it was Cota, was the one of the goalie, and then it was Araujo, who will be on the World Cup team. Salcedo will be on the World Cup team, barring he can return from injury. Rafa, who knows? Diego Reyes will be on the World Cup team. Jonathan will be on the World Cup team. Layun will be on the World Cup team. Marco Fabian will be on the World Cup team.
Yep.
Raul Jimenez will be on the World Cup team. Giovanni, that's a maybe. Carlos Vela will obviously be on the World. I mean, yeah, Carlos Vela has to play the position he's playing for right now with LAFC. I mean, he's born to play it. He's outstanding. He's just he has such a great mind and vision.
The point guard?
Exactly. The point forward, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Talavera is going to go. Ochoa is going to go. Chicharito's going. Moreno, Herrera. So here are the possible spots where we could see Pizarro. He took Jurgen Damm. I don't think Jurgen Damm has had a season worthy of being selected for the World Cup. So right there, that's where Pizarro could go in Damm's position. And then there's Guardado, there's Peralta, Aquino, Luis Reyes, and Chucky and Aranis. So the other spot, now you have to remember that Tecatito wasn't on this list either. So Tecatito has to figure in here as well.
Yep.
So does he figure in does Tecatito figure in for Jurgen, or does he figure in for Peralta, for Oribe?
You would figure the positions they play.
Well, I mean, I figure because out of these 23 guys, I mean, there's like 20, because it was Irving Lozano and Alanis and Luis Reyes who's a defender, a wing back. So I guess that's who out of these 23. I mean, 20 of these guys are going to be in Russia. The ones we're not so sure of are Giovanni, Damm, and Luis Reyes, and right now, and I guess and even Oribe, and I guess the positions that are, the people that are up for are Giovanni, Pizarro, and Corona.
I have trouble believing they could go at it with just two strikers, which is why I think Oribe has to go. I can't envision him just going with Chicha and Raul.
Well, the other guy that I think
I guess in a pinch, Vela could play up front, and so,
right.
I guess a few of them could play in a pinch, but I like Oribe's leadership too. I
mean, I personally think 4-4 should go because I think that you should plan, whatever the base formation is, and just, double up. And yeah, but that's just me. So,
his base formation is just one center forward. So he does only need two. If he's going to be looking at it from
the other one to interchange. So really, let's play with two and then like a straight up winger.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So you do think he'll play both of them at the same time?
Oh, I think so.
I'm not so sure, just because he's got options on the wings.
That's true too. All right. So Jurgen, we think, is out, right?
Yeah, I can see him getting ahead of Oribe, ahead of Gio, or ahead of Pizarro at this point.
And don't forget Tecatito too. So
Tecatito, yeah.
So Tecatito probably takes
a lock, in my opinion.
Yeah, he takes Jurgen's spot. So that really only leaves, and and Aquino is a lock too. So that really only leaves the Peralta and the Giovanni for Pizarro.
So maybe that's why they say Gio, just because he's the one who's clearly making it easy to question his inclusion.
Well, I mean, he was in those Fox commercials. Giovanni was, so who they were like.
Do you think Pizarro had the kind of performance that makes it like without a doubt you have to call him up? I don't think so.
I run hot and cold on that because he has shown. I mean, in both of these games, he makes these just unbelievably good plays, but at the same time, he would disappears for stretches, or just that doesn't make good decisions, and it seems like those lapses last longer than his good lapses, and I think that's what's so frustrating about him. Is that you see what his abilities are, and it's wow.
Well,
So
the way he handled the goal, I mean, that was just beautifully done. The way he waited and waited and waited and just perfectly weighed the pass, the through ball.
right,
But then later on, then you see him when the team is struggling, when the team is getting tight. He was he wasn't a calming influence. He contributed to some of the mistakes as well
right,
by
yeah.
trying too much, trying too hard.
They press. That's been Chivas'
Yeah.
problem all season. Is that everybody is pressing at the same time, and they can't get it together. And I mentioned last week on the podcast, and I mentioned again this week. For Chivas to win, and you say it about any team, but specifically for Chivas, their best players have to play well. And for the goal, it was Pizarro and Pineda that hooked up. I mean, I thought Pineda again played well. He's starting to round back into the form that he had. They just all of them just they all went into a slump at the same time, and they couldn't have picked a worse time to do it, for them. Because I think if all of those guys would be playing well, I think that they would be merit serious consideration for this list. But as
Well, I
it is,
think a year ago, all of us had Pineda as a shoe-in.
Absolutely. I mean, he was. I mentioned it last week. I thought that along going into the 2017 silly season, he and Jonathan were the best midfielders that Mexico had. I mean, Jonathan had a great year. Villarreal had a great Confederations Cup. And then Pineda, we were expecting big. You and I were both expecting big things from him at the Gold Cup, and you saw glimpses of it in San Diego, but his play just did not. Of course, they're also playing him as a winger, too. It's like he's not a winger, so it just gets it gets a little frustrating sometimes to watch these guys struggle, because that they're struggling to play a position that they're not entirely accustomed to playing. So that's where fans get frustrated with Osorio. Is it's like, I know that you're a super genius and we get that, but it doesn't take a genius to know that maybe you can not play your best offensive player as the holding left midfielder. Call me crazy.
Do you think he's blowing smoke when he says when he generally speaks, that when he says or when he comments that he was happy with the performance of the team?
Osorio?
Or do you think he's honestly being honest, giving an honest response to how, basically saying according to what he wanted, the team did what he wanted for the most part? Because I guess I just wonder sometimes. I guess the reason I ask is because I wonder. I think most of us have a vision of what good play looks like, and I'm just sometimes I wonder well, maybe that's just not in the cards for that. He doesn't. He's looking to achieve other things, not what we consider pretty.
Right.
He's got very specific goals.
And that's why I mentioned when you first came on the podcast that the optimist in me thinks that what he's done over the past couple of years is just put players in certain situations to see one, if they can handle it, and two, just to let them understand how to do something in case they have to play it against whomever.
Yeah.
And so I think that is part of. I think that we will see in the World Cup, 85% of the roster is going to be guys that are in a position where they normally play. And so I don't think we'll see a major amount of rotaciones, at all. I think we will definitely see, if he might make one or two changes, but I'm saying like changing Corona for Lozano. not changing Corona for Araujo, let's say.
I think I guess I'm mostly curious as far as how he approaches these matches. I've heard some suggest that he may go with an alternate squad to start off with Germany and just ensure they win the next two.
That would be so dumb.
Which I don't see that happening.
Yeah, there's no way that he would do that. I mean, honestly, could you imagine if they tried out an alternate squad against Germany? Germany's going to go, really? They would hang a dozen on them in 30 minutes.
As a fan, I think I'd be very disheartened by that kind of pragmatism.
Yeah, I would too. That would be just completely idiotic. I'm not saying that Mexico has a gigantic chance to be Germany, but you know what? Germany can have a bad day. They're not infallible. I mean, and especially in the first round where they're not necessarily playing at
they're
a
collection of really good players.
You
can't you can't say like, oh my gosh, this guy could totally just kill us. Like most of their players are just really, really good. So you don't have to deal with a Messi, I guess.
I mean, are the chances high that you're going to lose? Probably, yeah. But you want to lose 1-0, 2-1. You don't want to lose 3-0, 4-0. It's just goal differential is so.
I will say though
that
that because he's so out there and optimistic, you do think that, like, at least in my opinion, that if the stars align and he gets it right on the day, I think he's got a better shot at beating a Germany than anybody else that's coached.
Sure.
Just because I think he's more risky. He's going for it.
He will definitely be especially if he trots out his 3-4-3, which just does not work for this team, and hopefully he will. Hopefully he'll figure that out, because it is just not a good formation.
I think all of us would just like to see two forwards up front, and just something closer to a 4-4-2. At least I personally would.
I believe that Mexico, when they're going up against teams that are going to be better than them, and that's out of the, let's say, 4 to 5 World Cup games they're going to play, at least 2, maybe not 3 teams, are going to be better than they are. And because of that, I think they have to play with a 5-man back, where they're, with the 3 central defenders and and do the 5-3-2. I think the 5-3-2 just, it is the formation that I think that the Mexicans are born to play. I think it's the one that fits the Mexican game best.
Against a better competition, though, it is something I'm used to, but I do think that Mexico just performs better with perhaps 2 defensive midfielders.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a much more conservative approach, and I'm still. It's still kind of scary when you see him trot out that 4-3-3.
Yeah, no, it is. It's especially knowing that out of the 3 midfielders, none of them really want to play defense all that much.
Yeah, that's another thing too.
It's a problem. So. Yeah, it's a problem, and I don't know if that's something that's going to get solved. And and again, the sad reality about Liga MX is that there are no quality defensive midfielders that can fill that role, except for Jesus Molina. And I think because of that, then he actually has that guy that I think Luis Perez position that I read out. I think that one's going to go to Jesus Molina. I think he's going to be on the World Cup, because he's the only semi-decent Mexican defensive midfielder.
Well, he's very unpopular amongst fans, it seems like, but I don't see why. I mean, I guess because he's simple, and you need a little simplicity in your game, like a Busquets. I mean, that dude. Have you ever seen him play a difficult pass?
Exactly. Yeah, let the fancy guys do that. I'm just here to keep possession. I'm here to get possession and then keep it. I'll let you fancy guys do your fancy passing. And he's tall. which is a
Yep.
big plus for Osorio, and he tracks back, which Herrera just does not do. And Jonathan could, but his role seems to be to press up instead of be back. Like he's Mexico's best pressure. That's what Osorio has him do all the
Yeah.
time.
I think that's his instinct too, because for better or worse, I think he likes to put pressure. Which a lot of times, I mean, if your job is is to be that first line of defense for your defense, well, then you're already out of the play if they get past
Exactly.
you.
I mean, to me, the big problem with that is if he's leaving a 40-yard hole, in the position that is not being uh, uh, backed up by the winger. So that's why.
Yeah, someone like Molina, I'd be actually definitely okay with.
I mean, he honestly he is the I think he's going to go because of that very reason is that he's tall and he plays that position, and the defenders and your defensive midfielder are guys that are going to get yellow cards more than anybody else. So, and then the last World Cup, Gallito, who was playing out of his mind, terrific, got the second yellow against Croatia in a play, and unfortunately for him, it was a play that he had to make because Croatia was breaking away, and there was nobody there, and he's like, "Sorry, bud." He didn't do, it wasn't harsh, but he took him down, and the ref didn't hesitate, and Osorio didn't complain, or I'm sorry, Gallito did not complain about it, and he was out the next match. And unfortunately for Mexico, they had to play Salcido, who didn't have a bad game against Holland, but it was a night and day difference as far as what Gallito was able to do. And Gallito didn't do anything fancy either, Dan. He was just passing it.
Yep.
So they're certainly
but yeah, this team doesn't really have anybody that does that too much. I mean, Jonathan does do that when in possession. I think and when in possession, I actually would like Jonathan better than anybody else in that position. It's just on the defensive end is where the question mark is, and that's really the team. I think everybody's basically everybody sees that as the biggest hole. The biggest concern is that back line and the spaces they leave, and the amount of goals that. Go ahead.
I'd say I go back to the Olympics where it was Salcido and Herrera were the starting mids, and neither of them wanted to play defense. So it would just be problematic. They would get in each other's way. I mean, they just had, and so they would have to put Chaton in the second half. And the minute that happened, that let Herrera roam a little more forward. Chaton was going to do what he did, but behind. He was more of an aerial force. I mean, it changed the game completely. So, having a strong defensive midfielder was what was lacking in the Confed Cup with the list that we just read. So, Molina right now is the best man. He is the best available. Who do you got? Do you have A, B, C? Send me your best available, and that's who Mexico's going to get. So, and he will wear 20. I think 21 was the number that was available, so he will wear 21. Dan, the last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap it up here tonight was the news that came down yesterday that the quote unquote Pacto de Caballeros that doesn't exist has been they're going to be able to they said that it was going to be done and dusted by the start of the Apertura 2019 season, so a year and a half from now. So there'll be 3 more seasons before they even get to that one. And I'm thinking, it's a good start, but I just don't think that that it's really going to happen the way the players think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm a little bit curious to see how it's gonna end? I mean,
now, I do think, and the players, we know well within their rights, if they can, if they, if they can get to the point where they can, move freely from one Mexican team to another, which is, which should be well within their right once their contract is up, then to me, that is the biggest part of the and also players coming back. Like if Chicharito, say if he was on the outs with Chivas before he went to Manchester and he wanted to come back, he couldn't play anywhere without Chivas's blessing, which is ridiculous. But that's just how it is.
Yeah, and I'm just
think
that's
a
what
guy
I'm saying. Like it's kind of hard to do away with if that's the understanding.
Well, think of a player like Vela. Vela probably can't ever play in Liga MX because of that. Because Chivas would probably say, no, there's no way. We won't allow it. You can't have it. Which is ridiculous. To me, it is just absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, those are very, unique. They're just not that many Mexican players that play abroad. So to me, the biggest thing about this thing, if the players are able to negotiate their ability to basically be part of the player pool up through the international last day of players being signed, which is usually August 31st, then I think that that is a huge step for them, and hopefully that does pan out that way. Because I remember, I don't know if you were on the podcast last week, but we were talking about this, and to me, I think it's just criminal to think that a Mexican player, once his contract is done, can sign anywhere in the world he wants, except another Mexican team.
Yeah, that's I guess one of the issues that I'm wondering how it's going to affect is just how these teams are going to operate with the current structure with the foreigners, and can the Mexican player shoot themselves in the foot with the owners, I guess, by demanding all these extra, can the owners get back at them in other ways, I guess, by just excluding them completely? I don't know. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I have trouble
and that to me is
it's
the
just
part
going
of
to
the
be something like a rosy outcome.
Right. And that's part of the pacto that frankly is a part to me that's most disappointing. Is just the childish blackmail stuff that that the owners do. They're ridiculous. Like the case of Dano de Nigris, who had to go play in, and he was
Turkey?
still a very good player. Having to go to Greece and Turkey and all these places because he. And then I remember I was listening on the radio. And it said, you can't play in Mexico because of something. And it said, next question. I can't answer that question. So they couldn't even talk about it.
Wow.
I mean, that's that. You should be a professional in any profession, and then know that you can't, do that freely in your own country because of some snit that some guy has. They make it very. It's just yeah. So hopefully they can. Look, there are Pacto de Caballeros in every league on the planet, in every sport. I think that's. I don't think anybody denies that.
Yeah.
But the. In other places they do have free agency, where once a player's out of his contract, he can freely negotiate with whoever he wants. So until that happens in Mexico, then Mexico does not. That is the most important part of the quote unquote gentleman's pact that has to go away, is not allowing players to be free agents. I mean, I was watching the shows last night, and the guys that had been had been in the front office were like, oh, I think the draft is a great thing because we got everybody there, got all the agents there, we can negotiate the blah blah blah. It's so great that it happens in 2 or 3 days. So I'm thinking that's like the worst thing that can happen. They should have, players should be able to I mean, this is a big decision for some of these guys. They got families to think about. And that they're at the complete mercy of these clubs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully that is something that will work itself out, and the
do you know
players
what drove the change? Was this like the players' union that's been key to initiating this, or was this
No, it was the Players Association, and they were actually threatening to not play in this last week of the tournament.
Wow.
So yeah, and they met. Of course, had a press conference, and again, even in the press conference, they didn't even mention the pacto, because of course the Pacto de Caballeros, quote unquote, doesn't exist. But it's been a lot of the older players, and I remember when we had Martina, we were talking about this. The players that came out and that were furthest. It was Rafa and Chicharito and Chaco Jimenez, and and at the press conference they had Chaco and Oribe and Moises Munoz. I mean, like a lot of players that have that carry a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And that's what I talked about with Martinez. And it wasn't like it was El Maque Robles and Jove Bermudez and some of these
guys with clout.
Exactly. Yeah, guys. So yeah, so hopefully something will happen. I mean, I hope that the it's not a union, it's an association. As long as they get some concessions, I think that's they're not asking for much. They just want to be treated like every other soccer player on the planet. And I don't know why that is such a bad thing. Call me crazy. I don't know. So Dan, before we go, just one last thing. I thought I should mention before we go is that's kind of loud. Sorry about that. It's kind of loud.
I was debating whether or not to show just for that particular reason. Now I regret coming on.
Oh, stop.
No, you know what? There's certain teams that I'm always kind of like, I wouldn't say fearful of, but I'd be like, all right, it won't surprise me if we lose against them. So, like, every time we play Monterrey or if we play Toluca, I put in Pumas in that same group where it's like, yeah, you know what? It wouldn't exactly shock me. And then considering the fact that, they're still missing their center back, Pumas is having to win, and that need to win isn't with Santos. So, like, yeah, I wasn't remotely surprised by the result.
Well,
congrats, man! You guys needed to win. I put in a couple phone calls. I said, my boy needs some help to get his team into the Liguilla, into the dance. So I'm like, and we're good right now.
Yeah, so, I gotta tell you, I mean, they really sold it because they had like upwards of like 40 shots. 20 of them on goal. The Pumas goalie had 11 saves. It was insane. And yeah, so it was.
One thing I will say is I'm officially cold on Jonathan.
On Orozco, you're done with him.
Yeah, I'm hoping that before he gets poached by either Chivas or someone else, I'm hoping they promote Acevedo to give him the starting role.
Okay.
I think he could have.
Dan, the only player Chivas wants to poach is Araujo, and it's a big if because they're saying that he might leave to Europe after the World Cup. So there is no big. It's all rumors at this point. But they're saying
I
that
don't think Araujo would get a better deal in Europe if he does. Chris, if he just wants to play in Europe.
No, but yeah, that's the thing though. So they're saying that if there's no Euro transfer, that Chivas is in the front running to reel him in. But it's a rumor, But it's been gaining weight.
I think this may not be a very popular opinion, but I think Oribe would actually do quite well with Chivas, especially with someone like Pizarro.
Well, he might be leaving too.
Yeah, I know.
También se va a ir, so yeah, Chivas team might be dismantled by the summer or December. It might not even.
That's what happens with success, though. That comes with success.
Well, I mean, a lot of players came in and they weren't thinking of staying for the long term. And that's the case with like Pizarro, who he wanted to go the way of Chucky, and so that's the one team that it said wants him is PSV, and and the other guys like Corbelin and all of them, they know now that these players want to go abroad, as opposed to like before, where if you were one of the top 5, that's it. You pretty much had it made.
Yeah, and their best chance to do that, Joel, is if they go to the Club World Cup.
Yeah,
because they're not going to the World Cup.
I know, but if some of the offers or deals come through, so like with Annalise, Getafe is already, for months it's been a done deal, supposedly, so like Annalise, Cota, who still is still owned by Pachuca. So I mean, you're looking at a Chivas team, they might be dismantled by next summer.
Well, we already figured this out, Joel, while you were you went out to go and talk on your other podcast.
Your manicure. No, I had a mani-pedi.
Oh, you had a mani-pedi? Well, we decided that Almeida will be the national team coach, but he won't come in until after the Club World Cup.
Oh, well, that might be the case, because they have done it in the past. Wait, La Volpe was when? Was he announced like in January or late December?
I don't remember, but I remember Hugo didn't take over until he was announced in in October, but he didn't play his first game till February.
Yeah, I know, that was bad. Yeah, so I mean, I know. So interesting what will be happening with Chivas. But back to Santos and Pumas.
Yeah, before you rudely interrupted. Now, actually, the best thing about the Pumas is they won 2 in a row. They control their own destiny. If they win against Querétaro, they will. I think they can maybe go as high as 5th.
Wow.
For the Liguilla.
Only in Liga MX you could go 2 months without winning,
and then end up 5th. Well, you also have to remember that is true. They went 2 months without winning, but the first 2 months they did nothing but win. So
that is true.
So let's not lose sight of that.
And I have a question for Dan, because his Santos were in a hot streak.
Go ahead.
But now the hot streak is with the Diablos. It's all Devils, man. Chorizo power right now. I think they've broken some records too.
It is the longest win streak in Liga MX since like the early 70s.
Yes.
Since the original Máquina did it like in 72, I think is what I
was. Well, if you go back into the recordings,
Devils.
If you guys go back into the recordings, I specifically said Toluca was, to me, in my opinion, was the better team.
You did
and
say
it is the best
Dan.
team currently.
Much credit to you, Dan, because I wasn't seeing it. So, my respects to Danny Boy. I wasn't seeing it. I was losing hope on Cristante. I was like, couple losses here, and my boy Chepo might, sneak in.
Have to come back, yeah.
They might bring him back, but they held on to him, and it's very impressive what they're doing. Aside from that one loss to Necaxa. They did lose the Copa, right?
They did. Their last loss was to Puebla. They lost to Puebla on Valentine's Day.
Oh.
On the fecha doble, and then they've won it was a 9-game win streak, and in those 9 games they've only allowed 3 goals. 3 goals in 9 games, and and they've already clinched the number 1 spot.
What spot is Santos in?
Santos is there in number 2, so they
will meet in the final if it ends that way. Diablos versus Santos.
Monterrey is 3, Tigres 4, Américas 5, Pumas 6, Morelia 7, Tijuana 8, and then teams that still have a chance. Cruz Azul actually has a very good chance. I'm not kidding.
Oh, they still. I thought they were dead. They're like zombies, man.
They are still alive. No,
they were dead like 3 times.
A lot of things have to happen. They have to win, and then they have to win to get a better goal difference than Tijuana, who is they're at
that's right.
+5, and that's the only reason they're in they're in
they
the
need Chivas help.
and then
Maybe Chivas high in there, because that's who they're going to be facing. I think that's this week's game.
So here you go. This is this is the most fantastic scenario that Cruz Azul could possibly ask for.
I'm afraid I just blew myself.
But here you go. For Cruz Azul to make the liguilla, Tijuana, Pachuca, Necaxa, and Puebla all have to lose.
Oh, that's
so
too
they
many.
have four. But there was some team a couple of years ago. I think it was Pachuca that went in because
the similar.
Yeah, because like 3 or 4 teams, and the last one was America, and it was with La Volpe, and they lost that. So let's take a look at the games then. So we have Friday. We have Morelia Necaxa. And then Tijuana Toluca. So they have to. So Cruz Azul will be Morelia fans and Tijuana fans. I'm sorry, Toluca fans on Friday. On Saturday, they have Tigres Monterrey. That one's not going to matter. Pachuca Atlas. So they have to root for Atlas. And then America plays Santos and Guadalajara León. So we have. And then on Sunday, it's Veracruz Cruz Azul. So they control that one.
Wait, where is that match at though?
That's in Veracruz. That's in the Puerto Jarocho.
That's in the Puerto Jarocho. Okay.
I got to bounce, guys.
All right, Dan. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Have a good night.
Later, Danny boy.
Thank you.
See ya.
Daniel Preciado.
And by this point, the Red Sharks are saved. It's Lobos Buap that got relegated.
I'm sorry, Puebla. Puebla was the other team, not Veracruz. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. So who plays Puebla? So Lobos Buap plays Puebla and the Clásico Camotero.
They're toast. They're toast.
So yeah, but it's in the Loberio, or what do they call that thing? The Loborio. It's in Lupine's bar. But anyway, well, Joel, I'm glad you're able to hop on, but we were really just getting ready to wrap up the show there.
With extra time though, John, you were telling me how much you love tiempos extra.
Oh yeah, because it is the best part. It is the best part of any game is when players come in after running around for 2 hours. And, we had to do this for another half hour more. Let's get right on that. Let's get right on that. No, but we were talking Osorio before we wrap it up here. We actually went through the 23-man roster, Joel, and I have it. This is the 23-man roster from the Confed Cup. So,
but before you get there, John.
Yes.
I want to say a comment you made earlier about there's another televisora choosing roster spots.
Yes.
And we saw it. We saw the Fox Sports commercial, which is pretty good. It's about the curse.
Yes.
So they're promoting Selección as being cursed, and it's the Dos Trago brothers that show up.
That's right. They were hopping off the plane and heading over to the to wherever it was that they were going.
Ron is here. Is he returning, or is he just showing up?
No, he's just showing up.
Yeah, I'm just showing up, guys.
Man. We need to hear Ron's take on what's going on at Coapa, because there seems to be some ruckus.
No, well, first and foremost, I just wanted to congratulate the
my Chivas hermanos.
Yeah, Chivas for their victory. I think it was well deserved. Tournament. Yeah. I mean, I for a moment I thought that you guys were going to lose.
Well, they did lose.
No, I mean the series. You mean the series?
Oh yeah, man. They had that one shot almost towards the end.
Yeah.
When it's Jovico sends the cross, and a guy named Osorio, ironically.
Yeah, and
he boots it up.
You know, despite despite the other clubs not taking the series,
or so they say.
I mean this.
Well, I think that they admitted to that, didn't both coaches like, hey, you know what? I mean, really, this was just kind of a thing.
I mean, it really is a pro de Conca championship, but that's neither here nor there now.
No,
Now,
you
why
know what?
specifically is
You
it
know
a
what,
pro?
Ron? I agree with you.
What's that?
And I
Why
was talking
specifically
about
is it a
this
pro?
earlier.
Well, I'm just using Hoyle's logic because
no, it's true.
It was right before World Cup. A lot of players are more interested in the call up to the World Cup.
Yeah, but it was like a 7-team tournament. They played 7 games.
You know what? I think it's like America and Tigres didn't really put the effort that they should have. And that's their fault. That's not Chivas' fault. That's not Toronto's fault.
Across the board for players and coaches.
Yeah, across the board. But using the same logic, because Hoyle used to bust my balls about
used to. I still do. I still do.
still do.
That's not going away. Well, because it was a whole league. League, you want to play every team in the league. But you don't want to do a group where you play three teams, and then you go into a playoffs where you play like 3 other teams. And
I mean,
They played 8 games. They played 8 games in the 8 games.
Yeah, and that constitutes a league championship. I mean, they should have just called it a cup, or a mini torneo or something.
Yeah, but it's so
this was the game, Joel.
Yes.
See, and this surprises me from Ron that this is a tournament that he covets and cherishes because his beloved Jaiba Brava played America in the final and won the first leg 4-1.
Yeah.
4-1. And then mysteriously lost 4-0 in the second leg.
So Jaiba Brava, what did happen to that team?
They're still around.
They're in the Ascenso.
Yeah.
Yeah, how dare they?
They had some sweet uniforms, man.
They did.
And the logo, they modified it a little, but that logo from the 80s was awesome.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites. It was very cool. I like that shirt a lot. It was like light blue with a dark blue crab, right?
Yeah, and Reynoso, if I'm not mistaken, was coaching Tampico Madero during that time. And they had players like Sergio Lira, and I know that they had a couple players that played with America, with Reynoso and stuff like that. But yeah, it was.
We need to do one of those. Where are they now? Teams.
Yeah.
Because like Toros Nesa.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Nezahualcóyotl, it actually means, I believe it means, starving coyote in Nahual. Well, but they're Toros. Which kind of throws it off.
Because the original Nesa team were Coyotes Nesa.
Yeah. It's probably Spanish owners.
Yeah, Duconde used to refer to that team as Nesa York.
Nesa York, that's true. That was a fun team, man. Those are one of the most fun teams I've ever had the pleasure of seeing.
Wasn't that Toros team, Joel, the team that Chivas defeated to win their first championship in like 30 years?
Yeah, and it was like 18. It was kind of sad. It was kind of sad because you're expecting a closer result, and it ended up being like a 5-0.
And Turco was on that team, wasn't he on the Nesa team?
Turco and Lusenhoff, and they had Nelson de Melo, and they had Victor Ruiz. They had a pretty.
Hitos Mesa, if I'm not mistaken, was the coach.
Yeah, he lost to Tuca, which is.
Yeah, who was the Chivas coach?
It was Tucamion, but seeing how he's defensive and for have his team win like that, it's pretty surprising. I would like to see what happened. I'm pretty sure something happened. Something must have happened that team just crashed that bad because they were favorites.
Now, sorry, no, finish up your thought.
No, well, yeah, now that I look at it, it's like, something must have happened.
Yeah,
that's my best guess. something must have happened in the background, for that team to go down that bad.
Now,
I mean, it could always happen, but the odds were pretty low.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a fun final to. I mean, it was a fun final to watch because of a blowout.
Yeah, no, but if you see some of the goals that Nesa team was scoring, they scored this one goal where it was like tres tacones, that back heel pass.
Yeah.
They had this. They were scoring some awesome goals of like that whole team, the way they would connect, and yeah, that was.
They were a fun team. When there was a Nesa team a couple of years ago and started playing in Copa MX, I was like, wow, maybe we get Nesa back into a. They actually played World Cup games in Nesa.
Yeah, they did.
In '86.
Nesa even had a Royal Rumble against the Jamaican team.
Yeah, funny. Got the.
That's right.
You had the Jamaican players using weapons. It was like WWF.
Cage match. Now, do you say it was a Pro de championship because the tournament format changed for Liga MX and MLS teams, Ron? Is that why it's a Pro de?
Well, it's going to change again next season. If I'm not mistaken, the Conca champions. But no, I'm just busting Hoed's balls.
What are the changes for next season?
I think they're going to eliminate the group stages for the teams in North America or something.
Well, they've already done that.
I don't remember
that was what they did. Yeah, the way that it was is that the North American teams got a pass all the way to the round of 16.
This was a fun tournament.
And so they ended up playing 2 less games than they would have had they played the group stage because they would go from group stage right to the quarterfinals. This time they expanded it, which I think is actually a little because that way it gives the it's kind of like how we're going to see that World Cup and when they expand it to 48 teams, it's going to bring a lot of teams in that otherwise didn't have a chance. They're going to have to pretend like they have a chance to do it, and then when they get to the when they play, when Fiji plays Germany in the World Cup, we'll know what's up. So I think that the format itself, and frankly, as far as MLS went, I mean, MLS was in the middle of their, they would kind of run into what Liga MX teams were into when it came to the Libertadores is, they're in the middle of the playoffs, and they'd have to play these Conca Champions games.
Yeah.
So, if anybody favors from the schedule change, it was definitely them, because it wasn't always that they would even advance out of the group stage before they got to the quarters. So now they go directly to the quarters, and which to go along with your dream run of having a badass Pan American club tournament, maybe like do a straight up knockout rounds the way they do. I think might be the best way to go.
Yeah. Now, going back to the whole Pro de championship, and this happened also when Club America won their title after like 12 years in 2002.
Right.
I remember that a lot of people were trying to knock down that or discredit America for winning that title because one, it was against Necaxa, and two, because it was close to the World Cup, that a lot of some of the players had already left for the final. So it was kind of like just a watered down final, and obviously most of it was because of the whole Necaxa whole little brother big brother thing. But I mean, people forget, and there was this one play in particular that Adolfo Rios saved a ball from going in. I mean, by the fingernails. I mean, if that would have gone in, it's over for America. So I mean, that tends to happen, especially when teams win. Well, I shouldn't say teams. When certain teams win so close to the World Cup, that it becomes like, oh, no one really cares about the league anymore. Everybody's just looking forward towards the World Cup,
Ron, I want to say something. I think, and back then I used to even get in on that. Everyone used to jump on the America hate and the whole conspiracy of it's all set up for America to win. And yes,
I kept telling people,
But then
13 years, 12 years,
yeah,
13 years.
exactly.
You know, where's the help? You know,
Exactly.
And I've always said this, and I saw it. There's never been another instance before or after where a club, a team requests a federation for a foreign ref to go officiate a game, and that happened to America.
Yeah.
And the Costa Rican ref blew. And you can watch videos of this. I mean, he blew some serious calls because America would have won. Had it not been for the officiating, and I think I posted it once. Hugo Sanchez talking about it on Fútbol Picante. And after that, he left America. He says, you know what, I'm not going to be dealing with this type of amateur hour type officiating.
You know what?
Thank you for that.
No, you know what, Ron, and it was because it was through our discussions back in the Big Soccer MX forums.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with that narrative, and it was a whole narrative that America was cheats and all that, but then when you go, if they were cheating, then how come they weren't getting the campeonatos? So, why weren't they doing it when it matters? And because
it makes for better TV.
It makes for better TV. They're like Ric Flair, right?
The
bad guy you hate, you love to hate.
The whole narrative of America was getting help with refs basically stems from this incident back in the. No. It stems back from an incident. Jose Ramon, but it stems back from a match played in the 70s, America versus Puebla. And keep in mind that José, he's from Puebla and stuff like that. Or
that's true.
I don't know if he was born there, but I know that he was raised there, and he has a soft spot for Puebla. La Puente, if I'm not mistaken, had scored 2 or 3 goals, and they beat America 3-0 or something. For some odd reason, the game had to be replayed, and.
That sounds an awful lot like that Tampico Madero second leg.
That's just to bring it up.
Yeah.
So basically that game had to get replayed, and America won. And obviously those goals that El Pelón La Puente scored, he got
they didn't count.
They didn't count. So when La Puente went to when La Puente went to coach America, José threw a lot of dirt, a lot of mud towards La Puente. He's like, how could you do this? You're supposed to be a Poblano. You gave the Poblanos, their first, you gave them 2 titles. You gave them El Campeonísimo, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, you're not supposed to go to the enemy after what they did to you, Some, back in the 70s and stuff like that. But, so that's really where.
So Jose Ramon holds like 50-year-old grudges.
He holds grudges, man. He's a vindictive bastard.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen pictures of La Puente when he was a younger player and he had long melena?
Yeah.
He had that Hogan thing going on.
A lot of people forget, but he was a really good goal scorer.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was always coming up like second or third in the goal scoring charts.
But that's what happens, man. 1974 qualifiers, and they miss out. There it goes, man.
You had to have a comb over back in those days, like Bobby Charlton or Bianchi and stuff like that.
No, yeah, but that team missed out in 74. Same with the team in 90. So when I look at lists of like best ever players, it's always like fairly recent.
Yeah.
You see all these players from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and you think there wasn't anything good coming out.
So you're in the middle of putting together a list of best players, aren't you? Your best 11 or your best roster?
Sí, 15. Mejores 15 en cada posición, except for goalkeepers. Goalkeepers is top 5.
Oof.
Top 5. Ahorita no puedo hablar. Ya que salga, we'll promote it. But it's,
Now, hey, John, I wanted to ask you a question. Were you rooting for Chivas, or were you wanting them to fail just so they could join the fraternity of the fraternity that
of
Pumas is
Mexican
in.
teams that failed in the final.
Yeah, like Pumas.
No, I mean I wasn't. I mean,
John is a trophy
honestly,
chaser, man.
the producer in me was, man, it would be great for Chivas to lose because it would make the show better.
Oh man.
But I was watching it with my wife last night, and then Bradley skied the. Wait, hang on a second. He skied the penalty kick, and if I'm not mistaken, Ron, I think it's actually, if I can find it, I think it's actually just. It might be just outside here. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Yeah, just outside the door. Anyway,
It's still bouncing now.
I mean, I was happy for Chivas just because, I mean, I like Almeida and I like some of the players. For folks to say, MLS is, playing on tu por tu, they are. There's no question, and I think that within the next 3 years, I think MLS is going to win this tournament, and they're probably, for people to say that MLS is on par, I think that what MLS would need to do is probably win like 4 or 5 of these in a row.
And wait, well, you know what, John? I just want to get on that one subject. We should see maybe it could be Galaxy or even LAFC with a lot of Mexican internationals,
right?
Competing for that, being in that final. Because imagine if this was Chivas versus Galaxy with Dos Santos and Zlatan. It would have had that much more. It would have gotten that much more attention.
I mean, and to me, the coolest part about the way that the tournament played out was you had Mexico City, Guadalajara, Toronto, and New York all represented by teams. I mean, you can't get any, for a North American tournament, you can't get any bigger than that. The 4 biggest, markets in their respective countries.
Yeah, and like I've been saying, after the World Cup, I'm expecting a couple internationals to end up in MLS.
That's right. You're expecting. Who are you expecting? Who are you expecting? Guardado.
I think Guardado. Ochoa is another big possibility. Look. Remember, and I know we were joking when we were talking about why would Vela go to MLS, and I was telling you he's going to be doing that first pitch at Dodger Stadium, and just 2 days ago, was it?
Yeah, I saw that.
He's throwing the first pitch, and he has his custom made Doyer jersey. I mean, dude, who wouldn't want that, man?
He was wearing Ron Say's number, man.
Well, but they gave him the 10 because he uses the 10 with LAFC.
Well, I mean, I understand, but that's the Penguin.
Hey, Joel.
Yes.
Joel, what's going down with the Chivas, pay and stuff like that? Because honestly, when I heard about this, the first thing I thought about, and I think I posted it in our private chat, was the scenes from the movie Semi Pro, where he writes a check, but the person can't cash it because it's one of those big checks, and it's like you need to go to a big bank, because they accept those big checks.
That's right.
I can see Pulido. I can see that working on Pulido. They give him that gigantic.
Yeah, and when he makes that shot from the halfway line, Will Ferrell. Oh shit! No, he stepped on the line. No, he didn't.
That's pretty much Chivas, dude.
So honestly, that's the first thing I thought of. Was like, Vergara's writing checks in the place.
Man, we were going to give you bonuses, but we weren't expecting you to win.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? And I've been talking about this for like over a year. Chivas doesn't have money. And I remember Profe Cambiarrayas was telling me like, well, how are they paying so much for Pulido and Pizarro? And I was like, because they just take on more loans, And you see a lot of the big clubs in Europe do the same thing. When you look at a lot of these teams, they owe a lot of money, They're in heavy debt with banks.
Yeah, but and for this, and for the life of me, when I've told you this, and I joked about it way back when.
Yeah,
I was like, OmniLife just came out of nowhere.
It did.
Yeah.
They just own the terrenos, like you said.
They came out of nowhere, and here, like for example, here in the United States, Herbalife, who used to sponsor, I don't know, they still sponsor the Galaxy. No, I don't think they do.
No,
Galaxy.
I don't, but they did for a while.
I mean, those guys, that company went to the courts, and was sued and stuff like that, and like after years and years of litigation, they said that it wasn't a Ponzi scheme, a pyramid scheme,
Yeah.
But in some countries they do refer it as a pyramid scheme.
Oh, it's still Herbalife Homes.
Yeah. So
No.
and it's like Only Life, and I told you this way back when I was even living in Houston. I remember there was an Only Life office, but every time I drive by,
it was empty.
Was almost like every day it was like empty. And it's like, dude, it's like, what does he sell? It's like, how is he making all this money?
No, you know what, Ron? And then there's also all of this extra cancha stuff that fans, we don't really pay attention to it. So for example, Jorge Vergara owned the land where the JVC Center is going to be built. And they paid all this money to world-class architects to build stadiums.
Yeah, HOK, which I think they're Oculus now, or I think, but yeah.
Yeah, they paid like top money from architects from all over the world to do this. Like, it was going to be this really impressive center, and the only thing that ever got built was the stadium.
Yeah.
And they were hoping that the stadium was going to impulse everything else, and it didn't because, it rarely gets full. But the other thing that people don't, we don't think about or it's the road. So it's off ways from Guadalajara. So there's only like one road going into that place.
Yeah.
And then the city didn't even want to pay for it. So I think that Vergara had to pocket to pay, and it's a clusterfuck going there and coming out. So people don't like.
Pern used to get on me about this back in the day. Because he thought that I was making this stuff up, and I was like, dude, all you have to do is turn into Noticiero Deportes, late at night, and this is before obviously YouTube and stuff like that. But I mean, they showed reports and stuff like that, and they actually had actual documents and stuff like that of how they weren't paying the water bill, they weren't paying the property taxes, they weren't paying they weren't they didn't even pay the permitting fees and stuff like that. So I mean, they were years behind.
I guarantee you that Chivas wasn't the only company in Mexico that was doing that.
No, it's true. It's true. But still, I mean, Chivas, and they had to borrow money for the stadium because they didn't have money to build the stadium. So they borrowed from Slim. And up until recently, they were still paying it back. So
also remember the facilities that they sold, which technically they weren't allowed to sell it because it belonged to because the way when something is owned by a nonprofit, and then even that was shady the way Vergara did that. But like the proceeds from that complex, it's like, where did the money go to? I just cannot believe that they're having money problems.
No, well, I mean, look, the stadium, they built a stadium that they shouldn't have built because they didn't have money for it. And then on top of the stadium, they had to build the roads.
60 million transfers, allegedly.
And then let's not forget how much money Angelica was embezzling funds. She was taking money out and using it for... No, it was because the court ruled in favor. So the court ruled on it, and they took away power from her to.
And we cannot forget that Chivas TV did not meet its revenue expectations.
Well, that was the other thing because so Chivas was trying to side with what's the dude from Pachuca's name? Martinez.
Martinez, yeah.
Jesus Martinez. So he was trying to join. Higuera was trying to join the Grupo Pachuca, which was also Slim, who was financing the stadium. I think he was behind the loans. So they were trying to jump on that train, and you had the new TV station coming out, which was Claro TV. Owning, which Claro is the company owned by Slim.
Slim, yeah.
And they televised
Now, do you think this could be a ploy by Vergara? Rich man crying poor.
No.
So when it comes time to renovate contracts and stuff like that,
No, Televisa late the SmackDown run. Come on, Televisa came in. Televisa saw what was going on, and they laid the SmackDown and they pretty much put everyone in their corner, man, including Grupo Pachuca. Had to bend the knee and kiss the ring, dude. They did because they did, and Chivas was like, "Go snap, it's real now." Because Televisa's pool goes deep, man. They're like the Hydra. You cut one head, but there's like 5 other ones, and that's what happened with them. With Chivas started getting all these from the Profeco. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
They started getting all these fines from Profeco because their service was pretty bad. People were complaining about losing the feed and all that.
Yeah.
So they were in the.
Like you're right. Televisa, took it pretty. They were hard on both father and son. The Torley son and father too. No mercy.
And we saw it recently with Pachuca where they were starting to do the news reports on the city.
Yeah.
And how they were giving them tax breaks and costing it was on the people's money.
Yeah.
So then Pachuca was like, all right, man, mercy, So yeah, man, you don't mess with Televisa. And we saw that they won the battle because the big vote to renew the contracts for the national team.
Yeah, it was a miracle that they found that clause right before.
Yes, this is WFTV, man.
Manda matar a los Rolling Stones. Señor, ellos no son. Obedezca.
Yeah, man. So Televisa's they're the big dog right there, man. There's no denying it.
And I even call that one, dude, because it's like they know how to play the system,
Yeah.
They
don't know how to play the system. They are the system.
Yeah.
Makes it a little
the cheat codes, huh, John?
Yeah, it makes it a little easier. That's right.
No, but see, this is the other thing that Chivas took a big gamble. So basically, they were in Televisa. So if you're Chivas, you're in Televisa, and they're showing your game. You have I think it's 11 million, which was the how many people would see the match in the week. That was the rating, 11 million. And then they opt out. They go to Chivas TV, and you're at like anywhere between 150K to 500K. So you're a sponsor. You're not going to give Chivas the same money you were giving them to reach 11 million viewers. You're just not,
And next year, Chivas has like 5 or 6 sponsors. They're going to look like Monterrey next year.
Yeah. No, well, that's why they started losing, and even Bimbo was going to sue them. They had a $20 million lawsuit because Chivas was all of a sudden they changed, which is the big reason they went back.
We said was going to happen when they went to Chivas TV. I mean, they couldn't launch that, in the half-ass way that they did. And, so all these money problems, I mean, frankly, just aren't that surprising now. I think that they can, that somebody can help Mr. Vergara find his checkbook to pay the players, but.
Well, that's another one, the stadium, because Angelica, even though she had been embezzling funds and she had lost power, she still owns stock. So they changed the name. So it wasn't OmniLife for a long time. It was just called Chivas Stadium.
That's right.
But that whole year, that's a lot of money you lost.
No, yeah, it's. I mean, they had some issues.
Yeah, it's just recently became Akron, and so who knows?
And you said Akron is owned by the Mexlube folks, so.
Mexlube, yeah, full circle, man.
Yeah.
The Martinez Garza family, which used to be the promotora who used to control Chivas. So they're still there, man. I bet they'll take over the team if need be, because you got old families like De La Torres and even Leaños and all these old. No, because they're there. They're old Guadalajara families. They're old money. They're old money, John. They'll come in when the time is right and wrestle the power away. Vergara's new there. they were calling him the Huicho, you know.
He is muy corriente.
Which is, they, for those that don't remember the novela, what was El Premio Mayor? With Huicho Dominguez, he wins the lottery, and he's
I only remember
los
ricos también lloran. That was one.
That was before.
I only remember Carusel, and that's only a couple
Oh
episodes.
man, did you identify with Cirilo? trying to get at Maria Joaquina, or was it?
No,
Yeah, you were not.
I also did love Dos Mujeres Un Camino when it was being advertised during the World Cup with Eric Estrada. With Eric Estrada.
Hell yeah, he's living the life, man.
Yeah. He had Dos Mujeres en Un Camino. You know, he was playing. It was the original Bachelor.
And he was best friends with Bronco, dude.
That's right.
Oh man, yeah. So you drive a big rig, and you have different girls in different counties.
Does Chivas get out of this little problem that they're in?
I don't know, man. I don't know, because this happened a bunch of times. You know, it happened. This is like what, the fourth time, maybe. Who knows? But there's always someone willing to take the reins, and we're seeing already with Akron, the people from Akron, and then the people with Slim. You know?
What if would you be okay with oil money coming in or Asian money coming in?
Well, that's what. Oh.
No. Not really, but I mean, ¿qué vas a hacer, man?
Wasn't Club de Cuervos secretly owned by a Chino at one point?
I think in the last season.
The last season?
I need to rewatch it.
That's a great show.
It is, man.
I've never watched
it. Ron, you would love it. You would absolutely love it. You just go start watching it right now.
Chivas, yeah.
Yeah, it would crack you up. The guy's terrific. I forget what the actor's name is, but he's really good.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, you know, shows that I do want to watch, because I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but I just haven't had the time to watch it.
No, that guy is very talented. He's also in a movie called.
Is that about the corruption, like the president, you know?
Nosotros los nobles, I think it is.
Yeah.
I still need to watch that movie you recommended, John. Kentucky Fried.
Kentucky Fried Movie. Oh, absolutely.
It's in my queue list because, I mean, Airplane. So then it's must see.
Predates Airplane. It predates Airplane.
I know, but if it's the same people, then it's must.
Oh yeah, it was their first movie. It was their first movie.
That's probably the funniest movie I've watched as far as laughs. It just has me laughing, you know, one scene after the next.
You like movies about gladiators?
You're absolutely right. Well, gentlemen, we should probably.
Ya se anotó el gol de oro.
Yes, yeah, we've gone to the 10th. To the 10th. The goalies have kicked penales.
Even the goalies.
That's right.
They kicked their second penal.
When I was in Paris, I was watching the end of the African Nations Cup. It was Ghana against Ivory Coast, I think it was, and it went to 13 kicks to decide the champ. It was. I remember watching. I was watching it with my French monsieur. The Colonel, and we were both looking at each other. Neither of us had ever seen anything like that before. We were like, "Oh my god, 13 penalty." Anyway,
shit.
I don't know why I brought that up.
One question, John.
Yes.
Do you think Mo Salah is a contender for FIFA Player of the Year?
I think if he has a good, like if he takes Egypt to the quarterfinals, let's say, then absolutely. But I mean, he'll certainly be a finalist. You know, I think Mo Salah has been out. I mean, he's terrific. He's had an outstanding season.
Well, obviously, I mean, there's no. Yeah. Obviously, the numbers speak for themselves. Yeah. But for me personally, I'm kind of like, you know, because I'll just keep getting tweets and notifications about Mo Salah and Mo Salah this and Mo Salah that and Mo Salah this, and I'm like. You know, the guy's, 25, 26 years old now?
Right.
And, I mean, he could be another Gareth Bale, you know? He could.
Well, he's definitely. I mean, if he scores 4 goals in the World Cup, he's going to. I mean, there ain't no doubt in my mind he's going to go to Real Madrid. Now, the thing about Mo Salah to me is, you've had a great first year. What are you doing next year? Follow it up. If he follows it up with like 30 goals, then yeah, I think that he's.
It's like to me, it's kind of like almost it's a slap in the
face.
Wait,
4 goals might not be enough, John. Luis Hernandez scored 4 goals in France '98.
For me, it's a slap in the face that to give this guy the World Player of the Year, knowing that Iniesta or Xavi, who to me are some of the best footballers of all time.
Right.
Because and I used to say this before. Like you could take Ronaldinho out, you could take Deco out, you can take Samuel Eto'o out, you can play you can take Messi out and stuff like that. But the constant the backbone of what kept that machine going was those 2 players in the middle, and obviously being supported by Pujols, with the center back and Rafa, even Rafa Marquez and stuff like that. But it's like, for me, it's like, dude, I don't know. It's just like I was watching a little bit of the game, and it's like, dude, they're really pumping this guy up.
Well, he had a good game. I mean, he scored 2 goals.
Oh yeah, he did. I'm not denying. Obviously, I'm not denying. That he obviously he's had a great season. But
it reminds me of. I mean, I remember Frank Lampard had, when he was with Chelsea, had a terrific season where I think he may have been named. So I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a slap in the face to Iniesta and Xavi. And I do think that they probably should have won it at some point in their careers. I agree with you there. Mm-hmm. But to me, I think for Mo Salah, have a good World Cup and then do it again next year, and then we can start thinking about you as
elite.
Exactly. But what he's done this season has been outstanding. I mean, it really has, and it's been, and on top of it all, I mean, he's really fun to watch. I mean, he's really fun to watch. And
you think he's funner? You think he was funner to watch than Luis Suarez when he was tearing, or when he was with Liverpool? Because I enjoyed Luis Suarez more when he was at Liverpool than Salah. I just Luis Suarez was just doing amazing things.
Yeah, no, they both. I mean, they both were. I mean, it was. I mean, and when Nino Torres was at Liverpool,
yeah,
and then that's why people say, well, why would they sell him? And they, Liverpool, if someone makes them a good enough offer, Salah is as good as gone. I mean, because they can get whoever they want. I mean, that's just, there's a reason why Liverpool had that patch on their shirts that said 5 during the Champions. I mean, they are, once they get going, they are part of the royalty as far as European club teams. Because I mean, for years, I remember when I was a kid, and I would look at the tables on Sunday. We would get the tables only on Sunday in the newspaper, and Liverpool was always on top. I mean, I just remember just looking at it as a kid. I just remember, wow, Liverpool.
No, I remember that as a kid. I mean, 3 things I knew about Liverpool: 1, that it was a store; 2, that's where the Beatles were from; and at the time when I grew up, Liverpool was, like you said, it was royalty in European.
Isn't that a tienda also in Mexico City?
Liverpool, yeah, it's the departments.
Yeah.
My parents did a commercial for them way back in the day.
Oh, nice. Tell us more, John.
They were doing a waltz. It was like they were in a it was one of those rooms that has the white soffits on the sleeves on the side. So it's like almost like an infinity room. Like all you see is white. Like there's no edges. And there was a bunch of people, dancing the waltz in there. I'm not sure what it was for, but they were dancing the waltz in this commercial.
Back when I remember, it was more of a high end store. Is it still a high end store?
Or? Oh well, I mean, as far as I know, I mean, it was. There's Liverpool, there's Palacio de Hierro, there's Paris Londres.
Yeah.
That's John. When he goes to Mexico City, it's just Liverpool, Sanborns.
That's how. I used to go to Sanborns all the time to get.
Oh, dude, I still
go
to Sanborns.
I went a few times,
but they don't have the selection that. Well, that's not their fault because, no one's making damn magazines anymore.
My grandparents met at Sanborns in the 30s.
Oh, snap!
Sam.
Hey, John. Is John trying to tell us que hay niveles? John es indio de los finos.
No le voy a discutir con usted.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah, a good time
All right, man,
to
Ron.
wrap it up. But we'll get back next week, back to our World Cup stuff. I'm hoping to have
Oh, yeah, that's
our,
right.
our friend and fellow Millonario Kit McConico join us to talk Argentina. Because if I'm not mistaken, I know you guys have been following the Libertad, but isn't River? They're very much alive in the Libertadores right now, aren't they?
Yeah.
I would have to consider that if they're like in semifinals, they would have to be the favorites, just because of who they are.
Yeah,
So,
man.
well, we'll have to do a little research on that, so that what I do want to find, Ron, is that song you were telling me about that the Boca fans sang to River Plate.
Oh, that's the Decime que se siente. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No,
that's a
that's
great
Ron's
one.
favorite. He
In
was
fact,
setting it up for Chivas.
Exactly. Do you
I
remember
remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Ron wouldn't let me forget.
Because I was always against, I never liked, with Mexicans, copying Argentine, songs and stuff like that. But I said I was going to make it, that I would make an exception. And instead of saying, River, decime que se siente, it's like, obviously use the Mexican, like, dime, Chivas que se siente, dime que se siente, and stuff like that. But I would have copied that song, for Chivas but Almeida turned it around.
Hey, Almeida turned. You know what? I want to do this rant again, and it's they get all that from their songs. Fito Páez is one of the main ones. Fito Páez was the Y dale alegría a mi corazón, and they get a lot of the rhythms and a lot of the chorus lines from some of those songs, and it's like out of all of Latin America, Mexico has one of the most,
it's the Hollywood of
extensive catalogs, man. And we're not using them. It's rare that they use them.
The music industry and like Mexico is the Spanish Hollywood. It's the Hollywood of the Spanish-speaking world. So you're right. It's like why wouldn't we use our own pop culture, our own even our folk music or
we got stuck. We got stuck at Celito Lindo, which was a Spaniard singing it first. It's like, hey, wait a minute, and we took that, and there's like way more songs. We have just way more. So and we played them a few times from there's this group from Monterrey, Tres Tristes.
Yeah.
And it's a tongue twister for me. Tres Tristes Tigres.
Yeah.
Three sad tigers. Tres Tristes Tigres. And dude, they'll make fun. They always, you could YouTube them and they'll make fun of because they like soccer too, and they always take popular songs and they flip them around and yes, John.
See this part right here? Why don't the Chivas fans chant that? I'm telling you, man, it would sound so cool.
Chant arriba las Chivas?
No, the ay. Imagine the whole stadium doing that, Joel, when they're winning.
Yeah, and there used to be something similar, John. I don't know where it started, but the Brazilians and the Chilenos started doing it. I remember Cruzeiro and Colo-Colo fans.
They would sing Guadalajara instead of what?
No.
Chivas?
It was a chant. It was like, oh man, I can't remember it, but it was pretty catchy, and it was from like a song, and it was like a chorus. And I remember hearing the Cruzeiro songs, and then I don't know if it was U Católica or Colo-Colo, and they were singing it too. I don't know if it started in Argentina. Most of those songs started in Argentina, which you had like a Boca Junior saying,
It was probably Chile, dude, because they actually have mariachi festivals.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
No. Now I have to admit that as much as I hate to admit it, I really do like this song. It's a good song. It's catchy. I mean, that song is what, like 50 years old?
No, it's actually from the 80s.
Oh, okay, so it's 30
when
years
when they rebranded they rebranded it and stuff like that. It's late 70s, early 80s. No, I think it is from the early 80s because that's when they rebranded.
Do you remember the Chiquitiboom song for Carta Blanca?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I wrote about that.
RBD did tried to do a Mundial commercial singing that same song.
No, I need to pat myself in the back right now, gentlemen. And I wrote about the Chiquitiboom song, and it got printed in the English press.
But you know the history behind that, right?
Chiquitiboom?
Yeah.
Was that about
I was talking about the girl dancing with
no,
the big
yeah. She was awesome. I forget her name. She's a Spanish actress.
I thought she was Costa Rican. Was she? I don't know.
No. She's Spaniard. No, but that Chiquitiboom, you know, that's actually that's actually an America chant.
It was.
What's that?
No, I'm saying it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. One of the guys, I forget who wrote it, but it was like they were traveling to Guatemala and stuff like that, and basically he just, you know, when they were on the train or whatever, they sat down and they wrote. What's that? Yeah, I had to do something with the train, and next thing you know, when they started, you know, playing it over there in Guatemala, the local fans they liked it.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.
Chiquitiboom. That was one of the first chants I remember. So it was like Mexico '86, and that girl was only on for a few seconds, but she became famous.
She
cut off shirt.
She you know, after that she was in those. I think she appeared like in 2 sexy comedias with like Alfonso Sayas and.
I participated. There was this.
You were in a sexy comedia? Is this
No.
Which one?
I wish I was.
I
wish I was. Los albañiles. Los albañiles. I wish I was.
El chalán chamán?
El chalán. No, not that. I would be Los albañiles.
El tuntun? No.
Doing drywall. No, I was asked to participate in this, like, it was like for the World Cup, but it was this guide that was going to be printed in England. Yeah, but I wrote about Chiquitiboom, and at first I wasn't taking it serious. I didn't know how serious it was until I saw some of the writers, which was actual writers from like The Guardian and 442, and I was like, oh man, what did I send, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm talking about La Chiquitiboom and her dancing, and she had big boobs and all. And I was like, oh man, and they actually used my stuff on the headline. You know, when they put like the stuff that you could read about.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, oh damn. I was like, never mind. It probably worked out for the best. Nunca me mandaron mi copia, yo. Nunca me mandaron mi copia. That's why I forget. It was like 4 years ago. It was, dude. Play it, John. Play it. Gratis.
So if I was gonna play this one for you.
No, I'm supposed to get a copy of the pamphlet, man. Like a booklet.
I did have a new one. I don't think I've played this. Let's see where is fucking. I don't even have it labeled. I have no idea what this is.
El América es una mierda.
That's what it was. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. You know, his pronunciation is very good. I mean, it's really very eloquent.
El América es una mierda.
The roses are very nicely. I like that. All right. Well, gentlemen, probably a good time since we've been on for 3 hours.
All right, gentlemen.
To wrap up the show, but
thanks
for coming on. ¿Mande? ¿Qué pasó?
El Joe no sabe despedirse.
I mean, I've been trying to despedirme for like a past hour. All right. But just as I was gonna do it, both of y'all hopped on. That's right. That was good though. It's like different stages of the show. We had the Chivas Love Fest that we had earlier with Rigo, and then Dan and I talked a little. We were very optimistic in our comments, and then y'all came on, and we, have a little more desmadre than we normally do. It was fun. It was good. But anyway, glad to have you guys. Ron, thank you for hopping on. I know that you're very busy with your schedule, so we do appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, guys.
And Joel, same to you. I know that you had a very busy night tonight. So again,
yes, gracias, John.
Just one last time, Joel. Just one last time.
Yes.
I do think that you need to find that as a ring. At least when one of your Chiva hermanos sends you a text.
No, I can't.
That should play when you get the text.
Did Cambiarrayos, did he celebrate, or is he still Pachuca?
I don't think he even showed up. He got so confused.
He's still Pachuca.
He's so confused. I don't think he came on.
No, I thought he was done with Pachuca because he's no longer with that company and
that's right.
Yeah,
that was right.
That. So his
they were sending him to Pachuca. He actually went a few times to take his players and try out for.
Right. I remember we talked to him because he actually drank the Kool-Aid at the on the practice fields.
He got the tour, man.
But he's no longer with that organization, so I don't think that he's as Cambiarraya as he used to be. But once you get the name,
it sticks. Yeah,
it sticks. So it is what it is. Just like Chiquis is el Cambiagatos. Whenever Tigres starts playing well,
Leones Negros.
Exactly. Whoever.
Well, he was Jaguares, but Jaguares disappeared, man.
Yeah. Leones Negros, they are still in the Ascenso, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, they might join the league right in time for the no relegation.
That's
period.
Right. That's right.
And they're saying the other team might be San Luis, which is Atlético San Luis now because they're owned by Atlético Madrid.
What a shock.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting that Mexico's last qualifier was played in San Luis, a stadium that hasn't seen a first division game in like 4 or 5 years. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Anyway. It's just coincidence, John.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, gentlemen, we'll do this again next week. Again, congratulations to all the Chivas fans who were listening to whatever portion of the show that you decided to listen to.
Huevo.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
¿Qué pasó?
No, I'm saying yeah, I agree.
Okay. Oh, you said a huevo. I see. Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. So this is John Jagu. Very happy that you guys joined us today here on the CantinaMX podcast. We will do this again next week. Like I said, hopefully we'll have our good friend Kit McConaughey come on and he'll tell us all about Argentina and their chances, and he'll give us a Libertadores update, especially of his beloved. Now, if you think hay niveles when it comes to me, I mean, if y'all remember Kit's story about how he became a River fan, where the president of the the team personal tour Monumental. I mean,
and the field.
Come on. Yes. I just saw Cabinho on TV scoring goals. That's all I needed to get hooked. I didn't have to have
Cabinho show up at your birthday party, give you a signed jersey, and then fucking have you play a cascarita with your friends at the Seoul.
That's right. All I needed to do was just watch him score a goal. That's all I needed for me to be a Puma. I have to go through that whole deal. Yeah, so we'll have Kid on, and we'll talk about that, and then I'm hoping to have some other folks on, some folks that you guys may know, but I'll keep you posted on that.
El amigo Tom.
Oh, that's right. That actually, I did reach out to an England fan.
Yes.
A fan of England who he wants to remain. I'm not sure if he wants to remain anonymous, but we're thinking about doing a thing, and I want to bring the trash talking Juanita who knows really nothing about soccer, and have her listen to us describe a painful loss, whether it's a World Cup loss, whether it's England or Mexico, and have her guess which one, which country, which national team lost that way.
Oh, that's good.
And see how she does when we have Tapatio Tom come on. So hopefully.
Yeah, that's good. Tapatio Tom, I like that. Yeah. That would be a great handle. That's actually a great Twitter handle.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Well, again, thank you all for joining us. We will do this again next week. Thanks to Rigo Ayala and Daniel Preciado and Chiquis Albert Campa, who joined us on earlier. My name is John Jacob. We'll talk to you guys next week here on the CantinaMX podcast. Thank you very much.